And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love, and help amazing designers find great players who can love their games. We do that in a lot of different ways, but one of the main ways we do it is by sitting down with those designers to play their game. Tonight, we are playing Vast Grimm, which I think would most easily be described as the Mork Borg system thrown into an entirely different setting, which is the cold, vast, harshness of space. But that's just how I would explain it, rather than me telling you about it. Why don't I have Brian, who is going to be running the game for us tonight, who's one of the creators of Vast Grimm, tell you what Vast Grimm is all about. Brian, tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about Vast Grimm.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Brian Colin. I am a sculptor, designer, writer, all around, make all sorts of weird stuff, including Vast Grimm. Vast Grimm is a sci-fi fantasy setting set in a universe that is coming to its bitter end very soon. There were 6 ancient evils that were released 663 years ago in the Mausoleum of They. And when they were unleashed, they came out as little tiny parasites. And slowly they started infecting everything and everyone within the universe. Now all that's left are just a small amount of people as humanity is struggling to try and stay alive, either trying to find a way to destroy these parasites that have been growing and getting bigger, turning other people into what's known as the Grimm, or find a way to get out of this universe. There's rumors that there is a thing called the Gate of Infinite Stars that's being built by these engineers and scientists. If you're lucky enough to find a piece that they need and might help put it together, they may let you get out of here with them. Who knows?
Awesome. I'm super excited to play. We played a number of Mork Borg supplements on the system before. I'm excited to step it into an entire new setting. You've done some really interesting things with it. I've got a chance to look at some of the kind of the beta version of the game, and I'm super excited to be able to play. But let's meet some of our other players before we hop into it. First, longtime regular on the stream, one of my favorite people to sit down and play with. We have person whose name all of a sudden is completely blanking in my mind. I want to call you Parrish Tall Guy right now because your name is Professor Tall Guy, and I can't for whatever do it. Parrish, tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you online.
Yeah, my name is Parrish Danforth.
Not Parrish Tall Guy. So.
My screen name is Professor Tall Guy because I used to teach college in Japan. I'm the creator of Altera: Age of Exploration. It is a role-playing game that's ultralight and easy to access, not unlike Mork Borg, but it's set in a noble, bright, anime, fantasy, optimistic setting. The role-playing game is out and has been out for 2 years, and you can get it free at explorealtera.com. I'm working on getting a full box version with complete with maps and miniatures and adventures, so that you don't even have to have any of that stuff. Hopefully we'll have the Kickstarter for that later this summer.
Awesome. We got a chance to play it here on stream. It's an absolute blast. I think we're going to play a little bit more in it once we're in the Kickstarter, but I had an absolute great time playing it, and would encourage everybody to go check it out. And then we have 2 new people on the stream this time. Let's hear from Brandon first. Brandon, people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online if you want to be found.
Sure. I'm Brandon Shaver, just all-around RPG fan and goofball. If you're looking for me, I'm at SilentCRNA on Twitter. That's about the only handle I really answer to.
Awesome. And then right above that, we've got Michael. Michael, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Yeah, g'day guys. My name is Michael. I am otherwise known as the Dead Aussie Gamer. I'm a professional streamer, role player, and game master. You can find me pretty much anywhere you can type in Dead Aussie Gamer. I do a bunch of variety performances in the role-playing game field. I've performed on a bunch of different channels, and now I'm happy to say that I'm role-playing here. So super keen, super excited. Yeah.
I'm actually super excited, not only that we were able to get you, that it was able to work out. We had one of our good friends and regulars, Quinn, scheduled, but the other day when we were in the chat, when Brian was doing an interview, you had asked about coming on and playing on streams. if we hadn't been full already, I would have just said, come on and play with us. So I'm super excited in the end that happened to work out, even it was kind of a last minute thing. Excited to have you. Welcome anytime. With that said, we use a couple of safety tools here on the channel just to make sure that everybody stays comfortable. We also all know what kind of game we're sitting down to play. The basic tools we use are lines, veils, and the X card. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game but don't happen in our game. Veils are things that if they happen in our game, they're handled in a very specific way, either checking in with people as we go in a way that we've kind of previously discussed, or that we just kind of mention that they happen and then move forward. The X card is the ability for any player at any point in time to say X, type in X, message X to Brian or myself. We'll pause the game. If we need to identify what the issue was, identify it. There's no explanation required, though, and then move forward in a different direction. We also play with somewhat of an open door policy, which means if you see a player stand up for some reason because they had to go take care of a real life emergency, people are actual people, and they should be treated like they are, and so we use that policy also. But if you're watching right now in the chat, whether that's on Facebook, on YouTube, or here with us on Twitch, or if you're watching later, let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions about Vast Grimm as we play, feel free to ask them. I'll be your voice on the stream, and then we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A session once we're done. So does anybody want to name any lines or any veils that we, besides the one against sexual violence that we always have on the channel?
I do have one against torturous harm to animals or creatures of that nature. Just things that might be gratuitous or over the top. That'll probably be it for me.
Cool. Anything else? Parrish, you seem to be muted right now.
I prefer to stay away from overly specific graphic depictions of injury or blood.
Cool.
Are things like gross, like boils and things like that, describing those are okay?
That's probably fine.
Okay.
Just remember, we can always update that. So if we get to a point, you can always X. And something like the pustule explodes, not a big deal, but specific viscosities, weights, and colors and odors might be the limit, right? So awesome.
I'll use X card if I need to.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. With that said, I'm going to hand things over to Brian to take us into Vast Grimm.
Okay. Before we dive right into the game, I mentioned a little bit about the setting. The rules, an overview of the rules, especially since there's a lot of people that are watching that might not know them. It's a very simple system. There's going to be a difficulty rating where you roll a d20 and add your ability modifier to that, or negative or positive, depending on your ability. The standard difficulty is going to be 12. You're also going to roll for defense against things. So if you attack something, chances are it's going to attack you back that round. And you will roll to see whether or not you're able to defend against it. I'm not going to roll for the bad guys or the monsters or whatever comes at you. I can't pull punches. You roll the damage and then you'll take it. That's mostly that. We talked a bit about armor and how that goes prior to it. At the beginning of each day, everyone needs to roll their neuromancy points, which is a d4 plus their presence. So if you don't have that on your sheet now, if you'll go ahead and do that. And what neuromancy points are, that's the number of times you can use what is magic in this world. And magic in this universe comes across through these little devices. They're tributes. They're either encrypted or hacked tributes, and you need to spend a point to be able to use it. And if you have them on your person, or if you come across one in game, and then you roll to see if you succeed at using it as well, because it's not just an automatic succession. And if you fail on, especially if you critically fail or fumble on using one of those, something really, really terrible happens. A cataclysmic condemnation occurs, and it's just terrible. So hopefully we'll have one of those because they're fun. Another thing is you have a number of favors on your character sheet. That is something that will save your ass. It allows you to do a handful of things. One, it allows you to deal maximum damage with one attack. It allows you to re-roll one dice roll, yours or somebody else's. Like if somebody in your legion, you guys are all part of your legion. You're a group of people that have somehow come together. Maybe it's just that you're the only people you've found and you need somebody else to be on a ship with because their strength in numbers, especially when there's all sorts of nastiness coming at you. Or you can also use it to neutralize a crit or a fumble, and also lower a test difficulty by 4. And also lower damage to you by a d6. So those favors, they can do a lot. You don't have a ton of them, but they refresh at the beginning of each day. So it at least gives you something to hopefully not die as quickly from if you use those. I had mentioned that you were part of a legion, and legions are just groups of people that band together for survival. So being that this is your legion, can you tell me, I'd like you guys to describe what others would know about you in your legion, in this group, so that we have an idea about your character. And Tony, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So I'm playing Lunar Hunter, which is the part of the Sole Survivor class. I was abandoned on the waste barges of Kalar and forced to feed on the refuse of others. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm not saying I don't talk about it a lot. I'm apprehensive and hot-headed. I have a runny nose filled with neon green mucus. I think I know it all, and I love to tell everybody about it. This character is basically me. My family is still alive, but I don't want to go visit them anytime soon. There's nothing good in there for me. Slider build, wears a pretty heavy set of armor around at all given points of time, has a big laser sword strapped over their back, and a set of bone charger, a bone thrower at their hip. And I think that's it.
Okay. Brandon, you want to tell us about your character?
Sure. Odd would be the best way to describe him. Anyone that's met Torch knows that he likes to eat his eyebrows, which he currently lacks any, and has pulled out most of his hair. It's just sporadic patches on his head. Constantly talks about how he woke up in this strange meat puppet and can't seem to escape it. And he has a small rat, Emil, that is his confidant that survived in space with him for a little while. The rat is cybernetically enhanced, so you sometimes will see it scurrying around the ship. Otherwise, he just likes to talk and learn about people because it's kind of a new experience for him.
Excellent. And Michael?
I'll be playing Manny Cruel, Mancini. He basically grew up in the Grimm, just as a young fella. Brutal and lethargic he is, missing some middle fingers because he flipped off the wrong guy. He eats his stress, and he, gets stressed out because he eats, and so he eats when he's stressed. Last thing he knows is he hijacked a Royal Star ship, and a bounty was put up on his head. But that's their problem, not mine, because if they find me, I'll give them more than 2 empty birds to deal with. I'm also Taserface, so I've got a horrifically mauled half of my face. But if they take a nice good look at it, I'll give them a good old blast from the eye patch.
Very good. And Parrish, you want to tell us about who you'll be playing today?
I'm playing Wart Salor. Intense, jittery, crazy-eyed, pessimistic, nihilistic, negative. He escaped a isolation tank on a prison moon after its inhabitants were annihilated. I'm the sole survivor class. He looks young, but he claims that he was in this isolation tank for 20 years, 40 years, has said as many as 90 years, and that it just preserves your youth while you're in it. The fact that this number keeps changing and the fact that he can't keep any information straight leads you, the party members around him, to the conclusion that he's full of shit and makes up details pretty much on a whim and thinks that you buy it.
Excellent. Very good. Well, this is your legion, and at the beginning of each day, you, as a group, you roll to see if a torment has occurred. For in the game, if 7 torments actually come to pass, these ancient writings, then the universe will definitely end. the worms have gotten big enough to consume everything, and everything is now just all destroyed. So as a group, you can decide how close it is to the end of times to decide what type of die you want to roll on to see if a torment has occurred. It may be something that happens directly where you are. It could be something that happens across the other side of the universe, but whatever the scripture is, that actually does indeed come to pass. So how close to the end of times do you all think it is?
Live on the edge.
Oh yeah, definitely around the corner. You know, like I mean, like you know,
D4? Like so. Okay, like the air is almost gone would be a D2. One more voyage would be a D6. There may be hope yet's a D10, but I think from the way you're saying it, we're past the D10. We're closer to the end.
Yeah, I think D6 sounds like a good place to start.
Yeah.
So that's where you'd go. Okay, since you said D6, Tony, you want to go ahead and roll it and tell me what you get?
Sure. I got a 6.
All right. Well, today, no torment comes to pass. But moving forward, if we were to continue this on as a campaign, you would roll a D6 continuing until you decide it was time to move it on to a D2. And if a 1 happened, then a torment would come to pass. Now, you have all recently come to land on Marauder's Cryosphere. And Marauder's Cryosphere is kind of like a ice planet that has a hub of ships that are all connected through tunnels and ports. It's almost like a bicycle spoke system with tunnels going off of it. In the center spoke is where there's all sorts of bazaars and small shops and shacks that have been built up. People come here to sell random things to try and get items they might need to continue their voyage onward. Some folks just have made this their home because so far the Grimm does not seem to have noticed that this hub is here. There's people of all sorts here, and just folks that are just trying to survive another day. It hasn't been long since you left the ship that you have. You have a small yacht that you happen to find floating off in space. So it's really pretty, but it doesn't have any weapons on it. It goes at a moderate pace. And you've kind of landed down here because you were nearly out of fuel on your ship. As you come out of, every ship connects through just a small port, and it just kind of attaches there, and that keeps the ship in bay. There's a strange like middle-aged man walking down this corridor. You can tell that his eyes are completely burnt out, and there's singe marks all over, and there's this green kind of smoke coming out of his eyes, where his eye sockets where his eyes once were, and he's going along the walls trying to just kind of muttering, is there anyone? Is there anyone? And he's about like 10, 15 feet away from where you're coming out of the corridor to your ship. What do you all do?
I've seen this before. He stared into the void for too long. You all right there, old timer?
No. You sound like you'd help. He's just kind of shaking and jittery, and his head turns and looks in your general direction. And the green smoke that comes off just kind of starts wafting a little bit closer over towards you. Roll a presence test, everyone, just to at a standard DR 12.
Fail.
Okay.
Got a 10.
Also a fail.
I got an 11, but my presence tests are reduced by 2.
Okay. As he's kind of waving towards you and like in your general direction, you notice that on both of his hands, he has this branding that's been seared into his flesh that it looks like one is the symbol of they, and they are the name for the giant evil worms and creatures that are consuming the universe, and one is a symbol for the Grimm branded on his other hand. And usually, you know that people that have these are known as the devout, which are folks that more than anything really want to usher in the end times.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I say, what kind of help do you need?
Something happened on my ship, and there's things. This teleportation device, it's not working. Things just keep popping up in the ship, and I can't see anymore. And you can have the ship. I just need to get what's in my room.
Now, in regards to the devout, right? Like, what is the general like populace consensus on the devout? Like, are they madmen? You know, doomsayers? Are they, you know, people to be heeded? You know, what's the general attitude towards these guys?
So it really kind of depends on how nihilistic like your character perceives things. Some people are totally fine with it. Like there's harvesters and devout that are kind of more in line with like the worms, and they don't mind them so much. Other people think that they are like they're not right, and they're the ones that are helping bring the Grimm in and are just destroying all of humanity. So it just kind of depends on how dark your character is.
Sweet. All right, my character is one of those latter ones, reaching around his back and pulling forth a shotgun that seems to have quite a heft to it, as you can almost audibly hear this chunk of metal slicing through the air, the very claustrophobic air in this market square. He points it just a few inches away from the blind man. He says, "That's all right, Granddad. Don't worry. We're gonna help you right good and proper."
Thank you. And he's just shaking, and he's like, "I've gone 79 paces in the direction I came from, and I had taken a left, and I had gone 34 before that, and then another left, and then we should get to my ship."
At this point, there's the sound of the gun cocking as the shotgun primes.
We're not there yet. I told you how many steps we took. You just need to follow me, or you can leave.
There's definitely a vibe that Manny's going to put this old man out of his misery in 3, 2. Nope. All right.
Mork steps in and grabs the barrel and pushes it aside.
As he does, it fires into the air.
Hey! What?
Bullets aren't cheap.
Have you ever been to Marauder's cryosphere? Do you want to freeze us all out? Do not shoot off weapons in this tunnel.
Manny sort of leans over and he says, "Are we gonna really go and help this fella out? I mean, God knows, maybe this interportal device thing is just a way for him to infect more people with like them their grim worm doodad thingies."
I'm not with them anymore. I left the devout. Why do you think they've burned my eyes out? I've changed.
Well, how do we right know that you left them and they burnt your eyes out and you ain't done this to yourself?
Brian, would that be common knowledge? That's the thing they do.
You can go ahead and roll a presence test to see if that's something that you would know, and that's going to be more of a difficulty of 14 on that.
I've got a 16 on that one.
Okay. You've heard stories of that happening to people that have left, and the devout then hunting them down and doing that so that they can no longer do it.
I think we can trust him.
Look, this ship's out of gas. We need more either way. So
whether
we're helping him or helping ourselves.
I don't trust him a bit, but a free ship's a free ship.
You don't have to trust me. I just need my thing.
I don't trust him either, but you know, you guys haven't steered me wrong before, but let it be known I wanted to blow his head off right at the start. Just in case this thing goes squirrely. I just want it to be said.
I pull out a little
Also,
data pad and I just note on a long list of notes that yet again, Manny wanted to shoot somebody right at the start of our adventure.
Yeah, it's just like this ongoing receipt. Just every third entry is Manny wanted to shoot this person. Girl Scout cookies.
That's it.
At the front door, just Manny tried to shoot them. Yeah. As we make our way following the directions given by this gentleman whose name we haven't even bothered to ask yet, I would like to just keep an eye out for like street meats, like just I'm stressed. I want to eat something. The nearest thing that looks like protein will do fine.
Okay, so where you docked your ship is pretty far out. In the spans of corridors. The corridors go in, there's other ones that branch out and other ships that attach to it. So the way he described it and the number of paces it's going to take, if you follow the way he said, isn't going to lead you to a hub just yet where there would be like the street vendors and people selling the things to fill your belly.
Audible groan. All right.
So how many of there are you? I hear at least were there three voices, and he's continuing to walk, holding the walls. His fingers.
I don't know that how many of us there are matters, does it?
I don't let my slaves talk, so they'll just be following us until we get to the ship.
Okay. I just my ship's not very big. I just wanted to make sure if I'm giving it to you for getting past this stuff that.
Sure, I'll tell you what. You can wait outside the ship,
and you'll clear it. And then you'll let me into. I just need the piece that's in my room. Just the piece that's in my room.
Absolutely.
And I can trust you.
Wait, what are we clearing it of?
The teleportation device. Things keep popping through. There was something that had a horrible sounding growl.
So street meat.
It could probably be street meat.
I like the sound of that. All right, well, what are we waiting for? Get moving, old timer. Start retracing your steps.
And he's moving along, dragging his fingernails. It makes that horrible noise as it scratches along the corridor, turning right and then going down that corridor and then turning right again to where it ends up to the entrance to a sealed door. And he touches it and feels it. He's like, this is it. This is what was mine. So you're going to go in and you'll let me know when it's time?
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Certainly.
And he puts his hand up to the entry hatch, and you hear the door open up. And as light kind of flickers in, this horrible stench comes out. And you're not quite sure what to make of it, but it's not quite an aquatic smell, but it's not that far off from something rotting from the sea. And the corridor opens into a platform that is just about like 40 feet by like 60 feet deep, and inside the lights flickering off and on, and you can see that the walls and the ceiling and the floor are just covered in the stuff that's dripping, this kind of weird semi-translucent purple goo, and as little drips hit, you hear it hit the ground, just kind of hit little weird puddles, and you hear the guy behind you, go on, get in and shut the door. You don't want to let anything out.
It's just seeming less and less like a free ship.
Nothing is free. There's a little bit of work that must be done. But from what you can tell, aside from the nasty grime and everything, it looks like this is a small cargo ship. You've seen ships like this before, and at least you're down where you're entering into the lower holding area. You can see off to the right and left ladder areas that go up to the second floor, and just further back as the lights are flickering and you see the things dripping down and around. Roll another presence test to see with a standard DR12 to see what you see.
Can you, before we dive in,
Sure.
Can you tell us again what we're looking for and how we're going to find the room?
To the guy that was to the guy that was pushing you in. Yep. I just need you to. There's a teleportation device on the second floor. If you go up the ladders, go through the hall, and go to the north end of the ship, there's the common room. If you can turn off the teleportation device and stop these things from coming in and out of the ship, then I'll be able to come in and get my piece that I need from my room, and then you can have the ship.
How common is teleportation technology also?
It's really up to the GM and whoever's running it, because there's nothing about it really in the book. So this is just something I'm throwing into for this session. Yep.
So Brian, how common is teleportation in?
I'm asking you, the GM. That was not a meta question. That was not a meta. That was a meta question. That was not a meta question. I'm just asking, in our experience of this world, is transport technology?
Teleportation's like, it's you kind of think he might be a little bit crazy. Like, if he is something that's going to teleport things in and off of the ship, whatever it is going to be worth a lot of money.
That was kind of my thought. Like,
yeah. And this is, sorry.
I was gonna say, also as a side note, if he's got it, why would someone put a teleporter in a cargo ship? I feel like that's kind of like an act of major redundancy to like have your cargo ship go from one place to another, bringing cargo when there's a teleporter on board.
Yeah, feels more like a pull evil creatures from across the void into our space and time porter than a teleporter. But we'll figure that out as we get there.
Yeah, we will.
So this purple stuff, does it really strike more? I made it by 3. Does it strike us more as grime, or does it strike us? Is this normal space grime, or is this?
No, something is definitely, something is here, and there's something kind of moving behind some of the bigger blobs of purple goo.
Cool.
All right. I got a 16 on my presence check, if that makes any kind of difference.
Yeah. You can kind of see, but like in the farther back reaches, the goo is kind of almost like a wall coming down. And at first it thought that you might have thought that there was only like 40 or 60 feet of depth, but there's like another 20 feet behind this kind of sheer shimmering purpley goo. And you can see what looks like some sort of 6-legged creature that's kind of moving at a strange pace, moving back and forth behind the green gooey wall, probably, I don't know, like 4-ish feet in height at what would be like haunches, perhaps. And through the silhouette, you definitely see like at least like 6 legs.
That is disgusting. Whatever is behind that wall is giving me the heebies and the jeebies. I'm gonna shoot it with a flare.
You wanted the street meat.
Oh yeah, gotta work for that street meat. I'm gonna load up a bright red flare into my gun. I don't necessarily want to injure the creature. Because obviously it's quite in the dark behind the wall and stuff like that. And I'm gonna try and find an appropriate gap and just try to get some light on it.
Okay. To roll a roll like that, you're going to use presence to aim. So roll that for your standard difficulty of the 12 and see how well that goes.
That is 12 on the dot.
Okay. You shoot the flare right where you want it to go. As it lights up, you see this strange head with like, you can see different eyeballs moving around on it in this giant jaw. It's kind of like, it almost reminds you in a way of like a feline type creature, but with strange leather-like skin. And you see this giant jaw with multiple tiers of jaw, like 2 different jawbones unhinged as it backs away from the light, and you see something spew out of its mouth and then encompass and smother the flare as this horrible sea-like stench gets even worse as it starts to sizzle in the air. And it turns its head towards you, and roll initiative. Since you did that, initiative is first rolled for the group. You roll a d6, and if you get a 1 to 3, the enemies begin. If you get a 4 to 6, then you guys go.
Okay. That is a 1.
Okay. So the enemy is going to go first. Now, if you would all individually roll a d6 and add your agility to it, that'll determine your order of events. 3 for Lunar, 5 for Wart,
3 for Manny.
3 for Manny. And then we had Torch. What would you have? 5 for Torch. Okay. So as you do that, it leaps coming out through, just kind of obliterating this wall of goo, and as it kind of splatters outwards, and tries to land on top of Manny. So you are going to roll an agility test to see if you can avoid being clobbered by this beast as it's trying to land on you and trying to tighten those 2 unhinged jaws on your being.
Manny gets a 16 to avoid the large creature.
You manage to avoid it as you move out of the way. It kind of lands right down beside you. Torch and Wart, what are you? Do you have a preference as to who goes first? You both got the same number.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll put distance between it and myself if I can, and give it draw my blaster and give it a shot.
Okay. Do you want to step back out into the corridor because the door wasn't ever fully closed yet to stand back that way, or do you want to?
Good.
Okay.
Back out of the corridor.
Okay.
And is that agility or presence?
Oh, it's presence for aimed or for ranged weapons.
Nope, that misses.
Okay. Your blaster shoots off, and Torch, what are you going to do?
I'm going to use tribute for shock therapy.
Okay. So for the tribute, you're going to spend 1 neuromancy point.
Yep.
And let's see. You are going to then roll you're going to roll a d20, and it's going to be a presence test again.
Got a 17 on that.
Okay. And let's see. What did that do?
It does, I roll a d4 for the number of electrical bolts, and then they deal a d4 damage each.
All right. Excellent.
So 3 bolts, and do you want me to roll them individually or just roll once?
However you want to do it. However you'd like to do it's fine with me.
I'll roll them individually.
Yep.
So 1, 5, and 3. So total of
9.
9. No, the 5 was just adding the numbers together. Sorry.
Oh.
So 8 damage total.
Gotcha. Okay. You these bolts go into it, and you hear as it lets out this horrible hiss and a howl as it cocks its head upwards, and it's like the sound kind of reverberates up through the chamber, the kind of ladder area to tunnel to the next floor, as it just kind of unleashes this horrible sounding wail.
Sorry.
So Lunar and Manny. Well, Manny, since you had done the flare at the beginning, we'll have Lunar go first, and then you can go after that.
I take an empty hilt off my back, and then all of a sudden a laser sword that's bigger than Lunar erupts out of it, and looks like Lunar is having a hard time even just handling the amount of energy coursing through this thing, and I'm gonna try to swing and hit it, and I rolled a 12.
That does indeed hit, because that's the standard difficulty rating.
And that's 10 damage.
You slice into it, and it just starts like running towards the back of the ship, the cargo area, because you see just this huge cut go into it, and it starts tearing off as it's howling and just kind of limping along as it jumps to the back of the cargo area.
Put it down, Manny.
All right, Manny will. So is it still like over the top of me?
No, it it went past and back towards the back of the cargo area.
All right. How tall is it, like, with its legs? Like, could I get underneath it, for example?
You could feasibly. Well, you'd have to like slide underneath it. It's like 4 feet high, so like it's probably like there's about 2 feet from the stomach down to the ground level.
All right, done. Manny is going to power slide underneath, and as he does, he's going to sort of bring out both of his shotguns, and he's going to let loose one of the shots as soon as he's like directly under the main body of this large creature.
Excellent. So because that's going to be so close range, instead of doing like a presence test, I'm going to have you do an agility test to do the power slide and sync up underneath of it. So go ahead and roll that, and then if you get under there, then you'll fire off a shot and it'll just go.
That is an 18.
You managed to do that, and with like a little bit of flair as well. It's like you've done this before. You've slid off the fronts of starships for a living, and you go under there and roll damage to unleash that on this beast.
You know what? I'm going to use this just because I can and because I want to. I'm going to burn one of my favors of the 2 favors that I have, in order to deal max damage.
Okay.
Which for me would be a D8, so that would be 8 damage as the shotgun round
You do that,
explodes,
and it just like obliterates on top of you. Roll a D6 and let me know what you get.
Oh no! All right, that's a 1.
Okay, that is so. One of the things in this universe is that a lot of things are infected with the parasitic worms. And there's always a chance that when you're doing close combat that something might slip into your mouth and you might just get a little bit of an infection. So can you roll a 1? I mean a D6 again?
Can you roll a 1 on a
Can
D6,
you roll a 1
please?
again, please? I need to show people how infection looks. Okay, that one's a 5.
All right, stand by just a minute. I just have to get to here. Okay. I will and roll 1 more, and then I'm going to message you something. Roll a D6. Roll a D6.
That is
Well,
a 6.
No one trusts that party member anymore.
I'm fine. What's the worst that could happen?
Okay, stand by for just 1 second. I will message this over to you.
Oh no!
Next campaign.
While that's happening, I'll get Schwart back in and close the door.
Okay, as Wart comes in and the door closes, all of a sudden you hear the ship starting to rev up, and it's starting to shake, and the ship just starts to take off.
Perfect.
Sweet. Exactly what we wanted.
Well, no need to steal it now.
So you see this giant beast of a creature just kind of fall over next to Manny. It's definitely dead. The smell in here is very, very nasty, and when you shot it from underneath, the smell just got worse. What do you guys do?
Manny kind of like pushes this huge body off it and just spits out like this. That was foul. That was, but I think we got it. Where the hell are we going?
Is the exterior door closed?
It is. When because Lunar came in and shut the door behind you, and when that happened, that's when the ship locked down and took off.
Any signs indicating engine room, anything like that we would see?
Not down on this level. This is kind of almost like a detached bottom part from the ship.
It's the butt.
Yeah. Upstairs. What's that?
It's the butt. We have to go.
Yeah, totally the butt.
Yeah. To go up through the gut to get to the important parts. Great.
Can we see like a ladder or a stairwell or something nearby?
On both sides, after you first came into this kind of big, like rectangular space, on both sides there are ladder areas indented in with ladders to climb up to the next floor.
All right.
Are there is there cargo in here at all?
There is not. There is just like a mass of, as you start to look around and you see the purple slime and goo, it looks like whatever this slime is, it has kind of deteriorated whatever was here before. There's a handful of bones that don't look quite familiar to you as to what sort of species it might be. There's probably what might have been bits of like metal pallets that would have been cargo that have just kind of disintegrated. Roll a D66. That's 2 6 sides, and let me know what you get for the first one and then the second one as you're looking around.
I got a 46.
As you're looking through all the muck, you managed to find that somehow in this stuff there is a really flat, smooth bottle of really old whiskey that doesn't look like it's ever been opened.
Nice. I'm gonna put that in my fanny pack.
Excellent. You tuck it in, and just the nozzle of the bottle's kind of sticking out a little bit. It's a nice size, but
y'all want to make our way up?
If you want, I can have Emil scout ahead of us. I need you guys to kind of watch my back while I use the tablet to look through his eyes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think that's a terrible idea, but I think we also need to decide whether or not we're going to go up and shoot whoever is, trying to hijack the ship, or if we're going to try and close that there portal before more of these critters get through.
Maybe the portal first.
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
I reach into my pouch and pull Emil out and kind of chuck him up in the air.
Okay. Are you doing it by the right hand stairwell or the left hand stairwell?
Let's go right hand.
Okay. And you pull out your tablet, and Emil just kind of flies up through the corridor and going up, and you can see on your techno tablet that there is a small corridor that Emil flies up into. It's about 5 feet wide. It looks like it goes the entire width of the ship, and it's almost like it goes all the way over and then back down to the ladder on the other side. In the dead center of the corridor, on both the what would be the north and the south side, there is a door on either side, and both are closed. Through the tablet, it's hard to tell. It doesn't look like there's any of this like purpley muckety muck going on up there. It doesn't look like, from what you can tell on the tablet, it doesn't look like there's anything in this corridor at all.
Okay. I relay that information to you guys. We could go up, check those doors that are closed. Sadly, he can't open doors, and I call Emil back.
Emil comes back pretty easily.
Manny, since you're possibly infected by a worm now, even though we don't know that, and the GM asked which side of the ladder we're going to go up, why don't you take point?
Well, I don't like half the words you say, and I like them half as much as the way you said it. But you know what? Sure, I'm gonna step right in front with Bessie and Delilah here, and we're gonna make short work of whatever's coming up on us.
Excellent.
And I'm gonna I'll take point.
Okay. As you're starting to go up there, would everybody roll a presence test with a DR 14?
I do not make it.
Okay. And so, Wart, you happen to notice, looking behind you as you're starting to head over that way, that in the corner, it looks like that blind old man somehow managed to sneak back aboard the ship before the ship took off.
Okay, I am pretty nihilistic and also welcoming the end of the world, so I have more empathy for the old man, I think, than most. So I'll go up to him, and I'm gonna give him a poke, and I say, "You still here, huh?"
I came on board when I heard stuff was happening. I thought maybe I could sneak past and get my things, but then the ship took off. Who's on your side that's piloting this thing?
We haven't made it to the cockpit yet. We just fought some weird insect, and we're gonna see if we can get to the teleporter first. But it looks like somebody may have snuck on before us.
No, I was only in the corridor for however long it took to find you. Nobody could have gotten on the ship in that amount of time.
Well, maybe something teleported on then.
Okay.
You wait here. We're gonna start with the teleporter.
Okay. The teleporter, if you go in the corridor, it's going to be in the north, the first room to the north.
Great.
As he kind of switches a little bit. So as you're starting to climb up the ladder, you go up. It opens into the corridor at the top of the ladder well, like what was seen by the bat. It's pretty clean and empty in here. It doesn't smell nearly as bad, although some of the stench from downstairs is making its way up here. The door, as you get to it in the center of the hall, going to the northern side, as you get to it, you notice that even though it is a door that just it looks like it's been hit from the other side with some amount of force denting it out towards you at least a little bit.
All right. God damn.
It's better and better.
Okay. Well, I guess we should be ready for whatever the hell that is. As Manny sort
Does
of
anybody
making
have a
his way-
landmine?
What's that?
Does anybody have a land?
Oh yeah. Oh, hey, we can do this Ghostbuster style. Hang on, I'm gonna try pull. I'm gonna throw it in, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and shoot the landmine in midair after I throw it through the gap.
Excellent. All right.
You know, I've never been on a spaceship before, and I don't even want to stop this. I just want to pause and say, I as a player love this idea, and I as a character think it's the worst idea in the world. And let's go.
You know, yeah. As a player, if I were playing an engineer or a pilot or a or anyone,
you're great.
Literally, it's the only instructions I got were lethargic and brutal. So I feel like
I love it. I think the worst thing would be if that landmine was a Chekhov's landmine that never exploded. So I'm glad we're getting to it.
So
it's true.
You throw it. Roll an agility for the throw.
Okay. That is a 15.
Okay, it goes exactly where you want it to go. Then roll a presence to see if you blast it.
Oh crap. Okay, here we go. 20. Oh wait, no, 18 because I have a -2.
Okay. But you rolled a natural 20?
I did, yeah.
Well, we'll just go ahead and call that a crit because it's a natural 20. Your attack is going to do double damage. It's also going to reduce the armor 1 tier, which in this case, I would think that maybe it would reduce the armor of the ship by a tier if you're trying to blow it up.
Yes. Take that, landmine. I'm so glad that I got a crit on you.
The door opens up. You throw it through. Like all of a sudden, the whole ship just completely shakes as this mine explodes in that area. All the lights completely go out. Does anybody have any sort of armor or gear that would have lights on it or have a light on their person? As you're looking for that, the lights went out. They're starting to flicker a little bit, and you can tell that like there's this auxiliary power kicking on as the ship just kind of starts sputtering a little bit. And what's that?
At least we slowed it down.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, that's what I meant to do.
I mean, I'm wearing a military grade mecha enhanced armor suit.
Yeah, you'd have lights in
I
that.
feel like there's probably lights on that.
Yeah, without missing a beat, you can kind of hear Manny. Actually, Manny is as he takes his shot. Immediately following, he seems to be really short of breath. Like he seems to be like struggling to catch, like almost like he's got like like he's run a marathon kind of thing. As he loads up another flare and will launch yet another one just a little bit further into the next room. Says, looks at everyone and says, "Looks clear."
As the flare goes in, it opens into a smaller room than what was downstairs. It has like it branches off about 20 feet on to each side, about 20 feet deep, and then it kind of comes in at an angle to a corridor that looks like it would go towards the cockpit of the ship. What was in here is completely demolished. The walls are just like singed and burnt. A sprinkler has just come on with some like foam that's coming down into this room to try and put out whatever explosion that just happened. So you're seeing little bits of light reflecting off of that, especially as Lunar's like lights are going through and as the flare is like burning in there. And you also see bits and pieces of probably something else that might have been in this room, because this is indeed where the teleportation device occurred or had been.
We shut it down.
Yep.
Shut it down. Mission complete.
We solved your teleporter puzzle. Do you want to send Emil in to scope this out?
Yep. I'll kind of toss Emil in there.
Okay. Emil flies in there and does not like the smell of you can tell like there's something, the air in here is not right after that explosion and the foam. But Emil flies around. It looks like this wasn't a big room, and that mine just like obliterated what would have been in here. The hall, the corridor that moves forward up to the cockpit of the bridge of the ship, the walls that kind of contains a lot of the electric circuitry and things that help power the ship on the sides. A lot of those walls are kind of broken and bits and pieces are falling down. There's debris all throughout the corridor, but Emil can navigate that very easily. But it looks like the ship could definitely use a little bit of love and attention to try and get it back up to its normal its normal flying capacity.
I honestly was so terrified you were going to throw the mine in there and miss, and it was going to throw it back out in the hallway. I was like, this is going to be the ultimate backfire if it comes flying back out like shit.
Like, okay, everybody, pull up your second character.
Yeah, that's it.
You awaken in cryostasis on a ship where a landmine just exploded.
To be absolutely fair though, I love this because right now I don't think I could have survived anything I've done so far. Like, if had it been turned on me, like not a single thing. The shotgun blast, the landmine, no, it would have wiped me out immediately.
Emil does notice at the very end there is a door that would be most likely the door to the bridge of the ship.
Are there any other doors on the way between here and there?
Through the debris, there is a door on the left-hand side in the corner, the left corner.
Is that the one that he has described as being his room, or have we gotten that information?
You have not gotten that information.
Okay.
I say we try it, but there is a door to what looks like maybe the bridge farther ahead. I relay from Emil, and I call him back.
Emil comes back. Who's taking the lead to go to this next door?
But still Manny.
Well, I was going to say, since Manny's asthma is acting up, I have lights on the front. I'm happy to take point now.
The door that would normally just like open up is not working quite properly because of the electricity issues that are going on within the ship. So you manage to like grab a hold of it and just kind of slide it to the side. And as you're doing that, you kind of peer in and you realize it's just a small bathroom. There's nothing in here aside from like a toilet and a sink and
I check inside the toilet.
Shower.
I check inside the toilet.
There's it's relatively clean.
That's a plus.
Yeah.
I don't trust it. I flushed the toilet just to make sure.
You try to flush it, but something about the vacuum that would normally flush the toilet in here is not functioning at the moment.
We're gonna stop. We're gonna have a Mario Brothers moment. I'm gonna go into those tubes. I do. I want to check. It could just be the damage, but I just want to check there's nothing blocking it that might be important.
Okay. Roll a presence test as you're digging around in the pipes.
It's going to be a 13, and my presence checks are reduced by 2.
Okay. You're digging around, and it really appears like that landmine just did a number on
Got
this.
through it. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I will use the seashells while I'm in here. Just to
Excellent.
satisfy art. You know. It's not. I mean, I can't flush it, obviously, but I mean, you know.
Yep.
And it takes forever because I'm wearing that military grade mech armor, and so there's no automatic hatch. It's like trying to do it in an airplane bathroom, and it takes a bit. So
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys. Then I'll come back out.
So after a while, Lunar comes back out. It's like Lunar had been in there for quite some time.
So
Thought you might have gotten killed.
something got killed, and so.
Well, at least we
move
know
on
where that
before
smell has come from.
It smells almost as bad as what was coming up from downstairs.
It smells just as bad going out as it does going in.
Let's just get onto the bridge and get away from this miasma that you've unleashed in the hallway.
So I'll take point again, and we'll go start trying to. Is there a control panel next to the bridge door?
There is.
Okay.
Yep. And it does seem to be slightly lit up. It looks like it's probably working on the reserve power of the ship.
Cool. I will. I'll go ahead and take my laser sword out and hit open on the door.
You go to hit open, and it seems to have some sort of code that's keeping the door locked.
I have a keycard to Scrambler.
Okay. You wanna use that and keycard to Scrambler.
It says 1 in 8 chance of descrambling.
Okay. So go ahead and roll a. Well, hang on just a second. Was there more on that sheet? Let me see.
1 in 8 chance of descrambling locked hatches.
Okay. So you can go ahead and roll a d8 and see what happens.
A 7.
Okay. You try and it does not seem to do it. If you want to try and do it with a presence test for trying to, you can add to the. I'll let you roll a presence test as well and add. It'll just be a 16 difficulty.
I have presence tests DR reduced by 2.
Okay, so then it would be a 14.
Okay, I can roll a 14, right?
You can do it. I believe in you.
And if you want to, you can use it. Once you roll, you can use a favor to reduce the DR down by 4 if you wanted to, or somebody could do that.
I didn't roll high enough.
Gotcha.
Can you use it? Can you use a favor to re-roll in?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'll use one of my favors to re-roll if you don't want to use one of your favors.
Well,
That's fine.
I was gonna say, Manny pulls out what looks to be a laser cutting torch.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Manny, let me see if I can open it with this computer before we alert everything in there. Is there any chance I can try and hack it? I don't know if that exists in this world, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
you know what? You know what Grandmammy Manny used to tell people? That violence solves all your problems, and if it ain't solving all your problems, you're just not using enough.
Grand Manny.
Grand Manny.
Seems legit.
With the tablet, with the Techno tablet, and because you have that, and because you have your Borg bat, and you're used to doing that, I'm gonna give that more of a DR 14 instead of the 16.
17.
Yeah.
After just a few minutes of punching it in, and all of a sudden you hear the door open up, and you see ahead of you this big chair, and in the chair you can see some creature like mashing buttons on the console of the ship. From behind, it looks kind of purplish, like a big kind of hulking head. You can see that there's 4 arms coming off either side of it. It has a wider body than most humans would, probably a very stout creature. And roll roll an agility test since you're the first. Since you just opened the door and you're right there, I just want to know what you get to see if it notices you.
Notices you noticing it.
I'm going to use a favor. I rolled a 9.
Okay.
You roll that.
Okay.
Rather not. Okay. 14 plus 1, so 15.
Okay. It does not seem to notice you as it's trying to. It's probably trying to figure out how to get this ship back up and running to the capacity that it was at before. Because it looks intelligent. It's wearing some sort of strange space suit that you've never seen before. The material that it's made out of is alien to you. The colors have a strange iridescent shimmer to them.
How common are aliens that are not trying to kill us in this universe?
They are not common.
Okay.
They're not common at all. Like so far, it's like humanity, worms, the Grimm that are infected. And that's the Grimm. Anybody or anything can become Grimm. When somebody is infected by a worm and the worm grows and becomes kind of takes over the body,
right.
The eyes turn to a magenta color and it kind of turns into veins like you'd see in horror movies where it kind of goes all through the skin, and then they are no longer the person that was in there before.
There's a 1 in 4 chance that a member of your party could be a worm right now.
I lean
Manny looks
into
around
Manny.
to check the others.
I lean into Manny real quick and I say, he could probably use some of the gospel of your grandmammy right now.
As you say that, you see this head turn and look at you and turn kind of sideways. And you see this weird 2, 4, 5, 10-eyed creature with these green eyes that have no pupils just kind of turn and look at you. It's got mechanics kind of coming out of its nostril, attaching something to its face, and it kind of stands up hulking with all 4 arms. 2 arms pull what look like probably some sort of blaster out of holsters on its leg as it turns around. And the other 2 hands just have like these big honking fingers that look like they were trying to control the ship. And it just kind of looks back at you, eyeballs moving, even though no pupils are there. Let's see. Brandon, do you want to roll initiative?
Sure.
The D6?
I got a 4.
Okay. So you all get to decide what you would like to do first. If you would roll individual initiative again.
I will say, so different stream, like when you stream out, different things get the signal at different points. Twitch is the fastest, Facebook somewhere between that, and then YouTube is the slowest. Just now, a bunch of exclamation points from our YouTube viewers like popped up from you having the mask. Like,
awesome.
Great delayed reaction.
Fantastic.
And so, I've got a 5.
Okay.
6.
Also
2.
5.
We killed this thing's dog.
Okay. I'm sorry. What did Torch have?
2.
2. Okay. Wart, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna blast it.
Okay. Go ahead and roll to hit.
Man, I can't roll though.
And this is when we learn he's been wearing oven mitts this whole time.
Nope. I shoot completely wide.
Do you want to use any of your favors?
Man, I would if I could.
Okay.
I guess you said a favor could make it 2 better.
A favor can reduce the difficulty by 4.
Oh, by 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it can also re-roll.
No, I could hit if I use a 4. If I use a favor, it's my only favor though, Tony.
Oh, you only have 1. I get it.
Yeah.
We've got more as a party. I got you.
All right.
If you want, I'll use one of my. I've got 2. I'll use one of my favors to make it 4 easier.
Okay. So what'd your number get then?
Then it's I rolled an 8.
Okay.
And I have an ability that surprise. I have a bonus on surprise, but I only have a DR 10.
Okay.
So
Sounds-
that would get there. And then I
Yep.
roll a d8.
Okay. You rolled a d8 for damage.
Tony, it was worth it because I rolled a 1.
Nice.
Well, and do me a favor as well. Roll a d6 to see how much. Well, you don't have to roll a d6 now. He's wearing armor, so the armor would that suit that he's wearing would absorb some of the damage. So yes, you blast at him. But then it just kind of, you see it go into the armor, and it goes zzz, and you see you can almost see the electricity from the battery just kind of go and absorb into the suit itself. And you go, so that makes us takes us to, let's do Lunar, then Man, or who was closest to the entryway?
I think
Lunar?
I'd originally been point, so I'll.
Okay, so you go.
I'm gonna run up and try to stab it with my laser sword.
Okay. And be sure to keep track of your battery charges on swords and blasters, because that plays a big part in this. When batteries go dead, you get closer and have a stronger chance of getting the wall.
That'll be the final. That'll be a 12 all day. So I don't know if that hits or not. Is that hit?
Yeah, you go into it, roll your damage, then roll a d6 to subtract damage from it.
I'm actually going to use my other favor that's left to roll max damage.
Awesome.
So that'll be 10 damage. And on this.
Okay. You see the sword and it cuts into the suit, and where you saw like the electricity absorb before, it doesn't seem to do that, but the fabric, as it tears away and you see it cutting into this creature, the purple flesh, it's cauterizing the wound as it goes, and as you swipe the sword away, the armor itself goes back and weaves itself back together, naturally healing the suit that it's wearing. And you hear and it almost like starts to puff up a little bit more, like it's getting angrier that it's taking this sort of damage.
And then my other thing that I don't know if it takes another action or not, I would like to go ahead and whistle and have my violent roid rat that is in my pocket jump out onto this thing also too.
Okay, go for it. Yep.
And so as far as I know, it follows. It says it follows my commands, and so
yeah, totally.
Yep. Do I need to roll for it to attack, or is that?
You need to roll to hit for the roid rat. So it would. Let's see your character.
It's a D4 bite, so I don't know that it's going to do anything, but
right. Yep.
It feels like the right move still, nevertheless.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what its stats are, but I'm going to guess a 2 doesn't get it done, and so we're gonna
to hit. Yeah. Like roll. No, definitely not.
It jumps out on the ground and like starts eating crackers that fell out of my pocket. Also, too.
It's just not listening at all. Okay, Manny, what would you like to do?
So quick question: the creature's face, that's its face, like just as is.
Yeah.
Cool. Could I have another look at it real quick?
Oh yeah, totally.
Sweet. I reach into my pocket and I pull out what looks to be a small vial that says Mammy's medicine. It is ghost pepper spray.
Okay.
And I spray it straight in its eyes.
It's got a lot of eyes.
Got a lot of eyes.
Okay. Roll to hit.
All right.
And this will be a we'll do strength for this because this is more like a regular hand-to-hand sort of combat.
That is a 22 for me.
Woo!
You were like
you get all the eyes.
Yeah.
As you start spraying it, it starts whipping its head back and forth as you see like membranes going down, glazing over the eyes. It has the membranes that come down have almost a reptilian scale texture to them, as they have like a golden shimmer that shimmers into your area. Roll a D12 to see how many eyes you manage to spray in this one attack.
Oh, okay. That is a 7.
So as its eyes are closing, there's only two on the right hand side that managed to not be closing off. Its mouth is just kind of going up and down, and you see this tongue whip out as it tries to salivate all over the eyes that are closed to try and get the pepper spray out of its eyes. And then you see it starting to spit and drool as the pepper spray is now getting in onto its tongue because it didn't realize what was coming at it.
So yeah, so Manny's basically just stepped forward and gone to the last of it goes out, and then he pulls out another one as he steps to the I want to step to the side opposite to where he's got the two eyes left.
Okay.
And that's where I'll end. I'll place myself right there.
Okay, Torch, you see all this go down. What do you want to do?
I'm going to try to use shock therapy again.
Okay. Roll the presence test for the tribute.
Got an 18 for that.
Oh, nicely done.
And then 3 orbs. And then I'll roll damage for each. So 1, 3, and 7 total damage.
You hear it let out a horrible howl as it tries to as it kind of starts flailing its arms around. And can you roll 2d12, Brandon, and let me know, or not 2d12, 2d6, I'm sorry, and let me know what you get.
Sure. Let's see. 4 and a 4, so 8.
8. Okay. As it does that, the two that were in closest range with it, since you did yours from afar, were going to be Lunar and Manny. So it's got 4 arms. It's going to roll at a. You're going to defend at a +4 because it is mostly blinded right now, but it is trying to shoot both of you with these strange looking blasters it's got in its hands. So if each of you would roll a defense roll, which is your D20 plus any armor that you have. You roll a D20 to see if you get hit, and then you'll absorb any with any armor that you have.
I think I'm certainly gonna get hit. I think I have because I'm wearing D3, it's -4.
Right, so that balances it out.
Straight up, right? So I rolled a 4 on that, so I think I'm gonna get hit.
Yeah, you completely get hit, and then what about Manny?
Okay, so I rolled an 11. I've got tier 2. I'm not sure what I minus from my
-2. So you're at +2 all day.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So you would have
that's
gotten 13,
9.
right? Because 11. Yeah. So you would have gotten a 13. So you managed to evade it.
Okay.
On the other hand, for Lunar, roll a D10.
Roll a D10.
Yep, and that's going to be the damage, and then you'll be able to roll your
Well, it did
D6.
1 damage, and I soaked up 5 damage.
Nice.
So like it hits me, but the arm just like stops
Yes.
when it does.
With its other 2 arms, it's just trying to violently wipe the stuff away from its eyes. And that brings us back to Wart. What do you want to? You see all this going down. What would you like to do?
I'll give it another blast.
Okay.
Starting with a D20. It's not good enough.
Okay. Then Lunar.
I'm gonna try to attack it with my laser sword again. That's a 18.
That does indeed hit. If you
I
would
point out a really great opening. Even though I missed you, I spotted a really good place, and I'd like to give Tony my favor back to let him deal max damage.
Nice. Excellent.
Awesome.
Nicely done.
Like you shot it, it just like absorbed into the armor again, but I hit it in that exact same spot at that exact same time.
That's perfect.
And so yeah, it'd be 10 damage again.
Nice.
And I'll whistle for the rat again,
As you whistle for the rat, you're whistling as your blade goes into this creature, and you see it just kind of fall sideways and roll and slam right into the big console that is the piloting console, hit that, and then fall to the ground with a giant thump.
Hit all the buttons, and then I whistle, and the rat just starts eating one of the eyeballs.
Excellent.
Manny walks up, and he's just like.
No, not on the rat.
I'm avoiding the rat. I'll just double measure just to make sure. Just I've got 5 of these cans. I'm just
As you're doing that, roll a presence test. Anybody that's close to the body that's on the ground.
That is a natural 1.
Okay.
15 plus 2, so 17.
Okay. Lunar, as you're watching the body kind of fall to the ground and you see Manny spraying it, you notice that like some of the electrical pieces that are going on, you see almost like side scrolling, and it looks like it's some sort of characters or maybe some sort of language, not something you've ever seen before, but it looks like there's some sort of communication trying to happen on bits and pieces that are attached to the face of this creature.
Great. Well, if they came to the teleporter, it's going to be hard for them to get through. And if they didn't, then hopefully it'll take them a long time to get here. I'm more concerned right now about what other rooms do I see from here?
From here, now that everything's kind of calmed down, this is like the bridge. It's a really small ship. So there's like one pilot chair. There's some computers over on the left, like some computer consoles on the left, a table and some on the right. And then there's the main window that kind of looks out into space.
Okay.
And so what you see out there, you are now traveling through space. It's hard to tell exactly where you are, but you were definitely no longer anywhere near Marauder's cryosphere, especially after the amount of time it took to fight the creature that was down below, work your way up here, blow up the center area, and then come into the cockpit and kill this thing.
I'm more interested in where the owner of the ship's room is what I'm looking for.
Yes. Oh, gotcha. It is not in this direction. So you've reached the front end of the ship.
Okay. Then I want to backtrack and find that guy, because that's going to be our next problem.
Yep. Is everybody following Lunar? You're muted,
yeah.
Brandon.
I try to stop the ship.
Okay. You sit down to pilot. Roll a presence test, DR 14, to see how well you pilot.
Slipper.
Okay. You manage to realize like how it's using the auxiliary power. You stop that. You what would you like to do? Because you can control it however you want.
Just stop it in place as it is, and then until we figure out what else we're doing.
Gotcha.
We can decide our next.
You let it come to a slow stop, so it's not like jarring and jolting, but it slows down, and you manage to stop where you are.
I imagine that with the natural 1 on my presence checks before, that as I was spraying the creature in the face, the second time I've kind of sprayed back and gotten myself in the eye. I'm just like, damn it!
Not only is it hard to breathe, but it's hard to see.
I'll say, Luna, you got me.
He got you.
He got me, Luna.
The same way the last guy got you.
Well, I got that last one. Look.
Oh no! I think I'm calling back to the last time you got Mammy's medicine in your eye.
oh yeah. No, Mammy makes it strong. She does. That's because she fills it with love. Now, anyone seen that old fella?
No. You might want to use that bathroom though. Wash your eyes out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go wash my eyes out. I'm gonna go see if that old man's there. So
be careful when you go in there.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go in. And now I remember. As soon as I reach in my back pocket and pull out a gas mask that I've had this whole time but never actually used. That I could have used in a number of situations to help me.
But you
I'm gonna
only
go
use
to-
it to go to the bathroom after
Yeah,
after Lunar.
I'm gonna wash my face and then I'm gonna put the mask on. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, wash my face, and then I'm gonna go try and grab the old man and find out where his room is.
Okay. Well, so everybody's left the small bridge area, right? And then come down into that common area that you blew up. While you're in the bathroom, is everybody else just kind of milling about in the common area room, waiting for him to clean his eyes off?
I was gonna have Emil kind of fly around where the last place we saw that guy was, down in the hold.
Okay.
And just see if he spots him.
You're using the techno tablet. You open the door to the stairwells and the corridors, and you do not see him anywhere down there, even with Emil like going all the way around the entire cargo space.
I'm not seeing him downstairs, guys. I don't know where he might have gone. There has to be something we missed.
There is when you came
that
through
left stairwell.
When you came through that corridor, you went through the door to the north. There was a door to the south that you guys have not
Right,
knocked
so we'll
yet.
hit that door.
Okay. As with Lunar taking the lead, you go to that door, and you open it. It opens up, and it opens to what looks like a decent sized bedroom. It's like a big bedroom for a ship like this. It's got a bed, and you see the blind old man up against a tank in the corner on the right side of the room. There's 5 big tanks, and this room is lit up. The auxiliary power is powering this room. There's 5 tanks, one being like in the dead center against the far right wall. Then there's one in each corner of that, and then another one. And the tanks are almost like they're like from floor to about like 6 feet tall. They're probably about like 4 feet in circumference or in diameter. And they're filled with a purple liquid. It doesn't look like it's like the viscosity of what was downstairs, but it's more of like a purple liquid. And you see the old man just kind of leaning up against one, and he's just kind of muttering and whispering with his hands on the tank.
I told you we had backup characters on this ship.
As you give it a closer look, it looks like there may be a worm in each one of these tanks at different sizes of growth, just kind of swimming around it. They're not like cryo frozen. They're just kind of kept in this weird liquid, and it's almost like he's whispering to them.
I've seen that kind of liquid before. What have you got there, old timer?
I've got just an assortment. They're not doing anyone any harm.
I guess, how are you going to get him off the ship?
Well, I just had to come back for them. I couldn't let them be alone.
Yeah.
Manny begins to do a very small dance in the corner of the room. It's the "I told you so" dance that he has every once in a while. It involves the cabbage patch with one of his shotguns.
Yeah. I pull up the notepad and check off a box. Like, it's like 50-50. These boxes are checked off next to Manny wanted to shoot the person at the beginning of this adventure. And like this one pushes it 1 in Manny's favor.
There's also an unkempt bed in this room. There's a corridor leading south that's about like 20 or 30 feet deep, and then there's a door, most likely to an engine room, based on the size of the ship. There's a Foot Locker type thing, a glass a glass kind of like a glass TV like communication board, and then a desk over in between where the 5 giant tubes are filled with liquid and worms, with a desk with a lamp on it and a chair there.
And worms are the things that when they get inside of us take us over and make us grim. Is that correct?
That is correct. And from what you see floating around in there, any of these that have been inside of a human have kind of grown past that and gotten bigger than that.
Right. Like they've graduated. They're
Yes.
the grimmest.
And they probably spew smaller parasites.
Yeah.
sorry, just a real quick question here. So the creatures that we encountered, such as the spider and stuff like that, as a hypothetical, let's say, would it hypothetically be possible that there was no teleporter, and that those creatures just spawned from these things in the tank?
Depending, you could feasibly think, your character could definitely feasibly think that.
Okay,
but
that's what I definitely believe.
Yeah, you could definitely think that.
Yeah, the likelihood of a teleporter on a cargo ship versus, this guy, nurtured some wormy things. They then spawned monsters. They then killed everyone, and he's just continuing to be mad. It seems way more likely to Manny at this point.
Are the top of these vats open?
They are not. They have big mechanical structures attached to them, to tubes that are going to vents that are going to some sort of cooling or heating thing that's keeping the fluid circulated.
I just don't see a way we don't have to, we have to kill this. Unfortunately, this guy is not aggressive, but we do have to kill this guy because otherwise we're going to wake up with worms inside of us.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Is there a way to vent the basically a reverse flush out into space?
That's on my list of things to check. I'm very interested in flushing things.
Maybe cutting the auxiliary power too to it.
So. Do you want to walk over and start looking over closer inspection on these tubes?
No, I want to walk over and stab the guy with my laser sword.
Okay. As you walk over,
it is slow, it is measured, it is not a rush, it is a slow walk as if I was doing exactly what you just proposed, and then a laser sword in his back.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead and do that, and roll an agility test to see if he notices that see if he has any sort of idea as to whether or not you're coming to stab him.
I think I have -4 to agility test because of my armor also too. So that'll make it a 12.
Okay. As you start heading
13, but I don't know that matters.
As you get really close to him, he pulls out a hand and he's holding a small little trinket that is a hacked tribute. It's hard to know exactly what this tribute does because these tributes are the magic in the world. It could do something small. It could do something catastrophic. But he holds it and he's just kind of moving it around and looking kind of like past you, since his eyes still emanate that they're still emitting that weird kind of green smoke. And he's just kind of, these are my babies. These are my babies.
Yeah, absolutely. Laser sword.
Roll initiative just to see if you do that before he spends a neuromancy point to.
I got a 4.
Okay. So that means that you go first.
That's a it's a 9.
With the standard being the standard difficulty being a 12, you light up your sword.
I use one of my favors, drop it by 4.
Excellent. And so now you manage to hit. You want to go ahead and roll the damage?
Sure.
I want to burn one of my favors and give him max damage.
10 damage. 10 damage.
There's no turning back now.
Yep. As you stab this strange, ex-devout person, as your sword goes into him, that smoke that was coming out of his eyes comes out of his entire being, and his body just kind of crumples and falls to the ground in like a pile of strange purplish green ash.
I do not like that. I step back a little bit. And so
and you see the worms starting to move around inside the tank. They're like writhing around, like smacking against the sides, hitting it, and like you see like some of the bigger, you can tell that these worms, they're all different types of worms because there are 6 worms in the 6 types of worms in the universe, all being from 6 different ancient evils, and they're all different, and they're all mad.
Sure. I'm going to toss the hacked tribute over to Torch and see if you can figure that out.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. You want to use it? Okay. Before you roll, I'm gonna have you roll to see what. I just want to see what it is.
Okay.
So if you roll
it's not a plot tribute, it's just a random tribute.
Right,
That's
yeah,
great.
Everything about this adventure is random. So
That's fine.
Yep. Okay, roll a d10 so I know what you get.
Okay. D10, I've got a 7.
Okay. And go ahead and roll to. So you're going to spend a neuromancy point. Roll a d20 with your presence.
Wait, is he using it or is he just trying to ID it?
I'm going to try to ID it.
Oh, trying to ID it. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to use it. So go ahead and roll a presence, and it's going to be a DR 18 because most tributes, you don't know what they are until you use them.
Kind of want to use it now.
No, you can always use it afterwards.
I got a 9 on that. No idea.
You're looking at it. They're all different. They're all like weird ancient technology, and it's hard to tell exactly what it is. And even though some may have the same abilities and powers, they don't look the same.
I asked you guys, I'm going to go try to cut the auxiliary power to this room. You guys yell at me when these lights go out?
Yeah, I can do.
All right. I try to go down that hallway and start messing with the circuitry and seeing which one shuts off. The one where we were in the teleporter room where there's like pieces of equipment hanging out.
Okay. Go ahead and you spend some time up there. It's going to take a little while to sort through it. So while you're up there, before you roll to see if it works, what are the rest of you doing in this room with all the worms?
I'm with Tony. I want to check for airlocks in this room to see if we could just vent the whole room.
Gotcha. As you all are looking around, you realize that these tubes are actually connected directly to. They are not over the main part of the main part of the cargo area. So they have an automatic venting system built into them. For some reason, whoever built this ship built those for some sort of scientific purposes and as a fail-safe way to get whatever's in them out. There is some sort of code that has to be put in properly, from what you can tell, to be able to engage that on each of those tubes.
I can find the sticky note on his desk that has each of the codes written down.
You go over to the desk, roll a presence test as you're looking around.
It's a 19.
Okay. Along with codes on how to open the hatches, how to feed these properly, you find just a journal filled with all sorts of notes about all things worm, and how certain ones like to have their cheeks rubbed and things like that. But you definitely find ways to vent them out of the ship. While it takes you a little while to flip through the book to find the right place for that. Anybody else in this room doing anything before going back to Torch and trying to shut the power down?
I want to kind of check the stability of the ship. So more like, how much fuel do we have, astronavigation, stuff like that. Just obviously we this creature was sending us somewhere. Mm-hmm. I want to kind of maybe see if I can figure out where that might have been, and if possible, how to kind of get back to where we were. I imagine the ship that we left back on that other yeah. Mm-hmm. I imagine that still had some of our crap on board, so I kind of want to get that back.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
Okay. So if you want to figure out where he was trying to pilot, you would go up to the bridge probably and see what's on that computer system up there. If you're just trying to figure out the other, like the engineering stuff, you would probably go to the south area to where the engineering room is. So if you want to head up to the bridge, you can do that. Mm-hmm. Is anything going to happen with Wart while this is all going on? While Lunar's looking through that book?
I'll stick with Tony.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you want to look around the room, like to see what else there is, like I know it's a disheveled bed and some other stuff. He's got to have something else in here.
Yeah, there's a Foot Locker. Even though like he collapsed into like kind of weird, strange dust stuff, he still had his clothing on. So, if you wanna search the room,
Sure, I could take that job.
okay. Roll D66. Do it 3 times.
Ooh.
That's 2d6.
Yeah. So, and you say like this is the first 6, this is the second one. So it's
Yeah.
like
54.
okay.
16. 62.
It seems like the thing that was of most value in this room is probably that journal that Lunar found. But as you're digging around through the clothing that remains of this person that was there, it all like what crumbled before crumbles even more and just kind of disintegrates completely. Over by his bed, you do find some strange prayer beads that they look like prayer beads. They seem to be made out of some bone material, but it's almost like a natural greenish hue to it. Not like algae covered or anything like that, but it's got a strange iridescence and it has a strange the texture of it, the porousness of it seems very odd. It's not something you've ever seen before. And then also, it's weird, but there's like 2 rolls of glow in the dark tape that's like 1/2 inch wide and maybe like 50-foot rolls of each.
Nice.
And aside from that, you see some old like disheveled clothes and that's pretty much it. There isn't a lot of value in here. So Torch, while you're digging through the walls, Manny comes and passes by you on the way to the bridge. Torch, do you want to roll to see if you are able to figure out how to shut that thing down? Go ahead and roll a presence DR 14.
DR 14. I'm going to use my last favor of the day and drop the DC by 4. I've got a 12.
Okay. Then you, after a lot of like looking around and figuring things out, looking on your Techno tablet at schematics that you have, trying to catch some sort of network connection where you can get extra data, you manage to find it and you think that you've done it. You think you've shut it down.
I try to go downstairs and verify that they're out.
Okay. You go back to the back of the ship and there is no power in there. As Lunar and Wart, you all of a sudden you see the auxiliary power go and then the lights go dark.
Awesome. That seems like a good place to pause for just a second. We're going to take a short little 5-minute break. We're going to come back right after that. We'll play a little bit more. We'll talk a little bit about the game right now. We are playing Vast Grimm. Vast Grimm is not live at this moment. It is getting ready to go live on GameFound. If you're not familiar with GameFound yet, you should absolutely check it out. It is a crowdfunding site. GameFound has been around a long time in the games industry, helping as a project management company, but over the course of the last year, they've started launching games for crowdfunding on there. We're really excited about that. You can use the link down right below us and the one I'll drop in the chat in just 1 second, ttrpg.link/vastgrimmgf to go check that out and take a look at it while we are on that break. Also, when we get back, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the game. So if you have any questions, please let us know. But we are going to come back at 5 till the hour, and we will see y'all then and keep on playing some more Vast Grimm.
Are we back on?
Yeah, you and I are back up. Everybody else, we're waiting on everybody to come back for just 1 second, but there actually is a giveaway happening right now for Vast Grimm, so I hope y'all went and checked it out. But Brian, tell us a little bit about the giveaway that I'm posting in the chat right now on Twitch. I'll update the description on Facebook and YouTube later, but tell us a little bit about this this giveaway.
Sure thing. If you like the weird creature that they ran into, the grog that was piloting the ship for a little while, this is part of the grand prize giveaway. It's a giveaway to help promote the launch of Vast Grimm. You can also win a ton of Elder Dice in the process. Part of it is trying to share it with other people and get more folks knowing about Vast Grimm. So if you enter once, you enter to win some Elder Dice, but the grand prize includes a ton of even like rare Elder Dice that were only available on the Kickstarters, but that one-of-a-kind sculpture that I made with my hands and painted up. So there's a chance to win that. So please join the contest, because I want somebody that likes all the weird stuff I do to win.
Yeah, you posted up a video of you being able to make it the other day also too.
We're back on, Michael.
Michael, we're back live also.
Let's see.
I don't think you can hear us.
Okay, there we go.
We're back live. We're talking about a giveaway real quick.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, just real quick. Can you guys hear yourselves through my speakers?
I'm not hearing any echo from you right now at all. No.
Wait.
Yeah, I saw a video of you sculpting the actual
speed
mask
sculpt?
that y'all posted up.
Oh man,
It's like a comic
the
story
speed
or
sculpt looked awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so
And I also saw that you got a blue ute. That fills me with joy as an Australian.
Got a what?
A blue ute in your driveway.
Oh, that's we shared a driveway with my neighbor. So that's my next door neighbor's one of their vehicles. Yeah.
well,
utes are very important to Australians.
Excellent.
Yeah, so people who may not know, so Brian, you actually are a sculptor. Like that is part of what you do. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Like I've been making things forever. It seems like I'm always making something. And at one point I made comic books, and they took a long time to illustrate. And then I decided that I wanted to do something that was like faster to do. So I started customizing toys like back in like 2007, when there was a big like vinyl toy scene and people were painting toys. And so I started sculpting on them. And then eventually I started sculpting bigger things because I wanted them to look more realistic and more lifelike. And so I created a whole world prior to starting Vast Grimm called Revelo, which is filled with a bunch of my sculptures, a bunch of species and playable creatures based off of that for 5e. And then I hadn't really sculpted much at all because of COVID. And when I played Mork Borg for the first time, I wanted to sculpt again, and I wanted it to be something weirder and darker than my normal stuff. And so that's really how Vast Grimm started. I sculpted one creature, and it's like, okay, this needs a backstory. And then I sculpted the worm that's on the cover of the book. It's like, all right, now we've got something. Let's run with it. Yeah.
No, one of my favorite things, like, Mork Borg is such an aesthetically heavy game, right? Like, it's oftentimes said, like, Mork Borg is a one-page system with, you know, dozens of pages of aesthetic and lore added onto it, right? Like, and lore is like procedurally generated events within Galgenbeck, and so it is a very simplistic system, but it's so art-rich, it's so heavy, and it's really amazing to see how you've brought that three-dimensional art into the project that you've created, the sculptures that you do and other pieces like that. We're going to talk, I know we'll talk a little bit more about the art at the end, but it is just a very cool visual thing to see integrated into a game, because it's an art style you don't see a lot because of that mixed medium reality. And I've been just super thrilled to see it kind of taking place. And so
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm hoping that's part of what helps separate this and set this apart from other things that are out there, because it's different.
Yeah. I think we're Parrish. Are you back yet? Looks like we're still waiting on Parrish. Oh, there. Hey, you're good. Your camera was just off. I wasn't sure. So, Michael, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I'm just really glad that I actually got to see some of Brian's work, like, in person when I was at PAX. Sorry, not PAX. Gen Con. Yeah, no, it was like mind blowing. Like, just the kind of stuff that was just on display. It was just. Yeah, absolutely awesome, dude.
Thank you very much.
That's cool. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the art, some of the how the book came together, some of the development process, in just a little bit. Let's hop back into it, though, because I feel like there's some other horrible thing we're going to have to deal with. Still waiting. I feel like we're getting a little bit of time to loot, but that we're not quite out of the woods. And that I probably should have paid attention to whatever language was going out.
Sure.
You know.
So you got the power just got shut down by Torch in the bedroom to the south end of the ship, and Torch just walked back there to see that the power is out. While that's happening, Manny, you're in the front trying to figure out what's going on, where the ship was trying to be piloted to. Roll a presence test, DR14, to try and figure that out.
Yep. I got a 16.
Okay. As far as you can tell, it looks like the trajectory of the ship was heading to the Bitter Void. The Bitter Void is a place that nobody wants to go to. It's almost like a place in the universe where there's just fleets and fleets of Grimm waiting to try and figure out their next move. Why this alien creature was heading in that direction, who knows? But roll another presence test as you're doing that.
14.
All of a sudden you hear something lumbering on the ground beside you. And you hear like some things popping back into place. And you hear a big... And you see that creature that you all had taken down start to pull himself back up off the ground. And he looks over at you. Its big lower underbite just kind of as the eyes peel back, the scaly skin that had kind of gone over top of the membranes over the eyes, and its like giant tongue that had come out just kind of whips towards your face and spittles coming all out at you.
I'm going to use one hand to sort of pull out Delilah and stick the shotgun straight down that open mouth and just be like, God damn it, won't you stay down?
Roll a d6 to see which one of you actually gets to go first.
All right. 5.
All right, you get to do that first. So, because you're right there, go ahead and roll to hit with your presence, even though it's pretty close combat.
All right, that is a 17.
That does it. And roll the damage. Because you're going straight in the mouth, it's not going to get the armor advantage that it has, since there's no sense in adding that. That wouldn't make sense.
All right. That is 6 points of damage.
You manage to take a big chunk out of the back of the head of that creature as it then falls down to the ground one more time.
So I imagine there's just this like cacophony of the sound of the explosion as the shotgun pulls out. Manny's gonna look down at it again, and he's just gonna like and just take another shot just because I'm like just
an extra measure of caution.
Yeah, it's just like no, okay, fair enough, you got back up, that's on me, I should have made sure. And just take another shot and make sure that that there's only the minimal amount of head left on this thing.
Yes, and you manage to do that, and after it takes a few shots because this is a big dome that this thing has. It's got a big head, and it's taking some serious firepower to really blow it apart. You all don't hear that from where you are because of the doors being shut and how the ship is built. I'm sorry, were you going to say something else?
Oh, I was going to say specifically how many bullets, because I am keeping track of bullet consumption.
Let's aside from that first one, 2 more.
Okay, done.
And while you're dealing with that and figuring out the trajectory, and then that happened, so Torch, you went down into that room. The power is out. I assume that Lunar, you have your lights on your helmet suit. The worms inside the canisters now, especially the one that's in the center one, the one that was the largest. You hear it like just smacking up against it. Now, worms in this setting, not all of them are just like worms. With this one is known as a turgis type of worm,
what a great name.
Thanks. It has more of an exoskeleton with probably 12-ish legs that are almost like crab or lobster type legs, as it's pinging the glass, and you're hearing it ding, ding, and eventually it's gonna probably break its way through.
Lunar, are you done reading that book? Because
this book, it moves. So I'll stick the book in my bag, and we can head out the door.
So you're just gonna leave them in there and just go out of the door?
What? Yeah, no, we're gonna vent them out of the ship.
Yeah, because we were working on venting them out.
Yep. So you go over and you're going to try and vent them out, but now the code is not going to work because there is no auxiliary power to make the electronics work. And as you're pushing that, you hear it as the crack in the glass starts to happen. And you can see it just kind of going down as this one main tube is probably seconds away from shattering.
I mean, now we're going to get out of the room.
Okay, so Torch, you're coming in the room, you see the lights, and then you see the lights shining on this giant turgis worm in the canister, and you see the
out.
So you turn around. Brandon, I don't think your mic's on. There you go.
I'll try to jam the door once they're out.
Okay. You all get out, you shut the door. If you want to try and this door now is a physical movement as opposed to the electronic locks. So you can do a strength test to make sure that you're able to shut it all the way, because these things are not really meant to be moved by hand as much. No,
nah, okay. Not with the 4.
No. Does you guys you manage to get out? You see Torch trying to shut it, but Torch has never really been known for his muscles.
Nah.
I think Muscles is on the bridge right now, unfortunately. I mean, I'm
trying to figure out space.
I'll help from the other side.
Get on the two sides.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I think Tony and I can get on either side of it and give it a try.
Okay, both of you roll a strength test. With both of you, it's just going to be a standard DR12.
I got a 15.
Nice.
You're not.
Okay. So half of the door starts shutting. The other half is just kind of staying where it is. And as that's happening, you hear water whoosh, or some sort of fluid flooding down onto the floor. You hear as this large human-sized worm creature starts moving onto the floor in the room that you're trying to shut. Roll initiative to see if you're able to try and shut the other side of the door before it comes through.
4.
4? Okay, you get to go first. So you want to do another strength test and see
Okay.
if the door can shut, or do you want
Okay.
to try and run and exit?
No, I'll give it one more shove.
Okay.
I'm pulling on that side now. I was like,
Critical.
Nice. You like slam it shut just as like some little like lobster crab type legs come through, slamming it, and parts of them just kind of chop and fall to the ground, still kind of squirming on the ground in front of you. And you hear, and then a thump as it's slamming up against the door.
well, it's only going to last for so long.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what's happening on the bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, as a group, we make for the bridge.
Okay.
Maybe there's an escape pod. Something.
As you get to the bridge, there is another door that you can shut behind you to give another layer.
Yeah.
I'll just you guys can go ahead and manage as a team to manage to pull to do that. And then once you get to the bridge, there's that one more door. When you get up there, you see that Manny is still at the computer station. You see that the body of this alien creature is no longer in the same spot it was before. It's got a few extra holes in its head. It's just kind of obliterated. Yeah, I'll let y'all take it from here.
Problems?
Well, it twitched. How about you?
Yeah, we have problems.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, giant, monstrous worm abomination coming this way.
Oh, is that right? Okay, well, I got some good news and I got some bad news. I mean, good news is I know where we're going. Bad news is I know where we're going. So we're heading out into the void, and that ain't no place we want to be. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Do I, like, in terms of our ship systems, do I know if I can turn us around, or are we just still drifting towards the void space?
You're slowly drifting because Torch had stopped the ship, so it's only like the initial momentum that it had. It's just going like a slow drift. So you're days away from the bitter void right now.
Okay, cool. Yep. So we should be fine for now. But if we don't get these critters off, then we're gonna be stuck in the middle of wherever the hell we are without a life raft. If you follow my meaning. But let's say we try to take care of this here worm. Is there any way to like turn the oxygen off in the section of the ship that has the worm in it?
You could feasibly do that, but worms have been known to fly through space as they've gotten bigger and may not necessarily need the oxygen that you do.
Is there a way to increase the oxygen in a particular area of the ship?
You can try and do that on the you're going to need to get power back up to that part of the ship, but Torch is very familiar now with how to do that. Since Torch disconnected it, Torch could reconnect it pretty easily.
All right. Hey, Torch, listen, I got an idea, okay? It's an old trick from back on the farm, okay? Can you flood that entire that there corridor with oxygen?
Sure. Whatever you want.
Sweet. All right, let's do that. Next up, we need to make sure that we got someone ready to open up the cargo bay hole. Luna, Torch.
I got
We'll
that.
probably handle that remotely, I would guess. Does that track, Brian?
Yes, you could do that. Now, one thing, the room that they were in is on the top floor. The cargo hold is down on the bottom.
It'll be the common room that will be flooding with oxygen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Then the last thing we need to do is we need a spark to set the whole thing off. Which I can definitely put if we can, because the common room is separated by that room that I blew up, right?
Yes. Yep. No.
Okay.
The common room is the room
that
you
you
blew
blew up.
Oh, is the room. Okay.
So-
Is there like a corridor between there that we can seal off?
Yes, there is.
Okay, cool. So I want to go there with my my cutter, my laser cutter, and I
Mhm.
want to basically use some tether and just
Mhm.
wrap it up so it's just constantly igniting a flame,
Okay.
and put it in front of the door, and then when it's triggered, opening the exit and that door to fill the oxygen-rich area with flames to ignite everything, and then whoosh it straight out the airlock.
Okay. So
I saw
okay.
this in a movie once.
Excellent. This is going to require a couple of higher difficulty rolls to make all of the different bits and pieces of this mousetrap work. Rigging the igniter. Go ahead and roll an agility. No, just a presence test, and let me know what you get.
Okay.
And some things you won't know if they work or not until it actually happens. So.
Yep. Okay. I get a 0.
All right. Well, you would know pretty easily that didn't work the first time doing that, because that's very obvious.
You ever have that problem where you got that friend, you take up smoking, they borrow a lighter and they never give it back? Remind me to go kill my friend when I find him, because I swear I could really use a lighter right now and I just don't have one on me.
Since that's the laser igniter, right?
Yep.
You could feasibly use another battery from something else to get that to work, but we're going to say because it was so bad that battery just is not connecting properly.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
you turn it on and it just burned through the battery in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Yeah. Just cuts through the hull. Like, oh Jesus. Oh. Got the wrong setting, my bad.
Do you want to roll that one again with the new battery on it?
Yeah, I'll try using a different battery on that one. I got a -1.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask. Y'all want to try this? Cause I feel like I'm making no progress here.
I'm gonna take what he's trying to do. I'm gonna do something similar but different. I'm gonna say, give me that. I'm gonna take this bottle of old whiskey and I'm gonna drink some of it. I'm gonna let everybody else drink some of it, and then I'm going to pour a trail of whiskey from the area we're trying to ignite back down the hallway to where we are, which is way more low tech, but also way easier to do.
Oh,
Nicely done. Okay.
Yeah. I was using 2 batteries like flint. Like I was just like trying to strike them together.
And I was like, no, lighter fluid. That's what you need.
So as you're doing that, Torch, are you trying to get things set up to be automated to be able to open things? Roll a presence test, DR 14 for the computer, getting everything synced up with that.
Natural 20.
Nice. Excellent. As you're doing that, you realize that you could probably open up from here remotely now that everything's powered back up. You could open up the vents on the tubes that are back in that room and go ahead and vent the other 4 that have not yet cracked out of their cases.
Done.
And then as you do that, you hear more pounding. Like that just made that Turgis even more upset. As it starts to rip through it's trying to rip. You can see on the cameras that it's trying to rip through the doors for the room that it's in. Oxygen has filled up now in the space. Do you want to try and open the door and see what happens and light it up?
I'm gonna wait for them to get back.
Oh, yeah, yes, they're now back to where you are at this point.
All right, you ready to light it?
Yep.
All right, I push the button.
Okay, you push the button that opens up. Go ahead and you go ahead and light it.
Yep.
And And the door, I assume you shut the door as soon as it lights up, and you hear just a big, and on the cameras you can kind of see, looking into that room, it gets sucked back into the tube that it broke out of, and down through the hole in that giant tube as it gets pulled through, as the ship just kind of starts shaking a little bit, and and you can see in the rear view mirror 5 worms floating off into space.
It's very good that none of our characters understand engineering at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no way we would have
Honestly,
risked that if
no.
we did.
I thought we were going to blow the ship up. I was like, well, this is the way this is going to end.
Well,
Did you say,
because of that
5
natural
worms?
money. What's that?
Did you say 5 worms? Shouldn't there be a 6th worm?
No, there were only 5.
He said 5 bats the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah. And Manny walks over to the window and gives it like one of these
Perfect.
because he doesn't have his middle finger.
And with the worms vented, do you want to keep going on some other quest, or do you think that's a good place to stop?
I think it's a great place to stop and start limping our way back to wherever we're going to go next, which is not going to be the Bitter Void. Awesome.
Thank you all for playing.
Yeah, it was such a blast.
Thank you for running us.
Yeah.
Here, let's talk about it a little bit. We do a little thing here on the channel called Reaction Roll. Reaction Roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the designer of a game or system that we just played and talk to them about that game and what our experience was like. Today, we are playing Vast Grimm with Brian Colin. Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. For people who aren't familiar with Vast Grimm, tell us a little bit about what you do, but also tell us about Vast Grimm.
Sure. First, I'll dive in. Vast Grimm is a new sci-fi horror RPG using the third-party compatibility with Mork Borg that's coming to GameFound on July 13th. There's links down in all the show things to go check it out. You can follow it now to get notified when it goes live, because I'd love to have you on board for that. I am a sculptor. I guess I'm a writer. I never really consider myself one, but I wrote 75% of this book. My friend Ross wrote the other 25%. I also helped, I did a lot of the art in the book with sculpting. I did probably about 75% of the graphic design of the book, and my friend Ross did the other 25%. There's a couple other great artists that are contributing. David LaRocca, who's the owner of Infinite Black. He's done some really amazing illustrations in a different style than his normal like graphite illustrations. And our friend Alan Panicol has allowed me to use a lot of his sci-fi illustrations in the book that I've really dirtied up and really made them fit with the overall tone and feel of the book. I also I work for Infinite Black now, doing a little bit of everything. From graphic design to project management to dealing with manufacturers, and most of my time since getting hired by them has been actually working on Vast Grimm, between sculpting, writing, layout, playtesting, all that stuff. So it's been pretty rad.
Awesome. I am super excited to talk about it. Let's meet again our other players and hear from them a little bit about their experiences. I'll go in the reverse of the order that we started. So let's start with Michael from Dead Aussie Game. Michael, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Vast Grimm.
Yeah. So yeah, my name's Michael. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. I'm a professional role player and game master. I mean that in every sense of the word. That is literally all I do with my life. Not only do I stream, I actually work for the Australian government running RPGs and the like for kids, and setting up programs like that to help kids in my local area. I've had a very silly amount of experience in the field of role-playing. I play maybe 13 games a week, which I've done so for the last 6 years. And I've got to say, I've always been a very, very big fan of rules light games, because ultimately I always look at my target audience, which is usually young kids or people who might struggle with very complex or very crunchy rules. So one of the great things that I got to see here was not only were the rules really, really simple and based off, very, very easy to explain challenges and difficulties, but even throughout this game, no matter what kind of craziness I threw out, which you can kind of tell I play with kids, there was always a reaction to it. There was always something tangible that could happen, and those rolling checks that seemed to feed off one another, whether or not it was a singular person coming up with an idea and doing something, or if it was a collaborative team effort, there was always something that you could be able to do, influence, and play around with. So I thought in regards to that, it was a lot of fun and very robust for something so simple. So that was really enjoyable. And no, I had an absolutely great time getting to know this system. I mean, I think I had I want to say 3 hours exposure to this before
If that.
before coming on and playing.
Yep.
And yeah, no, had no struggle at all coming to terms with this game and the world it's in. Which, by the way, it also tickles me incredibly, because I've always been a big Infinite Black fan and stuff, and I've always loved a particular type of Lovecraftian-esque horror. I know that I've mentioned this before, but the artwork that you do for your sculpting and stuff has always resonated in a very special place for me, for things that are beyond description, even for someone with a great vocabulary. You look at these things and half the time it's like, I cannot explain to you the horror and the esoteric nightmare fuel that this thing happens to be. And that is just palatable in a game like this, where it's all about that sci-fi horror of the unknown. And this entire system just grips that by the horns and drags you kicking and screaming into the vast of the whole thing. So very, very cool. Very cool, man.
Michael, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Also, if you're out there watching right now, you have any questions, go ahead and toss them into the chat wherever you're watching.
I suppose questions come down to statistics, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know that everything is pretty much rolled by the players. When you're attacked, you roll defense. When you attack, you roll your attack. But is there a grading system in terms of how difficult a challenge should be? Or is it simply an overarching, this is just what it is at any given time?
You can, because creatures and things like that in this there's very little mechanic to them. You can scale them based on how you feel it should be for the party, and also one of the things is trying to balance out how many things are actually infected by worms. Like, you got infected, the rest of the party kind of knew it, but when you rolled the d6, I mean, you rolled to see what parasitic pain you incurred that day, because you were infected by a Ramethus worm, which is a bloodworm. The heartworm, and that's the baby's breath thing that you had just for today. Tomorrow you'll roll a different thing. It can never be the same one, and only 1 in 6 of those will have that worm leave you. 1 in 6 of those will have that worm consume you, and you become one of the Grimm. So you've got it, each day that you survive, there's a greater chance that you're going to need another character.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Love it. Let's drop down to Brandon. Brandon, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Vast Grimm.
Hey, so I'm Brandon. Just all around, I love play RPGs, learn new systems, kind of just geeking out on this stuff. I really enjoyed tonight. Like you said, rules light, the best option. I mean, having fun tonight, you could literally come up with any idea and you were able to just spit out yeah, roll this, let's try it. I mean, there were a few times when we are going to end up either blowing the ship up, killing ourselves, but it was worth it, completely worth it to just kind of sit down and have fun. I can't wait to play this game. I mean, the setup is pretty quick. Everything goes pretty fast. This is going to be a great convention game.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just sit down, jump in, play a game with people, and just have a great time.
Yeah.
That really is all I got to say. I love it.
And part of that we can get into after everybody's done talking, but this whole adventure was all generated based on random charts that are in the back of the book.
Just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So we have in the book, there's things for adventure hooks, and my words are failing me all of a sudden. Basically, I rolled 3 different times, and it came up with all the beats of the story. I had where do you wander, and you were wandering on the western haven of Marauder's cryosphere. Who contacted you? Knuckles Cinder, who you never ever found out their name, was a former devout whose eyes are burnt out, emitting green smoke. So that was a random roll. who the character was a random roll, and then I used our name generator random rolls to come up with the name. And then the name of the ship was a random roll, which was the Mystic Razor, which you were on. And the random thing there was a teleportation device on board is malfunctioning. And so then I wrote down that without sight, he can't figure out how to disable it. And it's randomly bringing mutated animals or creatures at regular intervals. But you blew that thing up way faster than I thought you would. So like there were going to be Grimm that ended up coming through, but it just happened too fast. And then one other thing, once boarded on the ship, it would reactivate starting headed towards the Bitter Void. That was another random roll. So that was all. I didn't want to do the adventure that's in the book on this, since people will be watching it, and I didn't want to spoil part of the book. So using our charts, I just randomly did that quickly, and that's how the adventure came together.
Love it. Awesome. Paris, tell us, people, who you are, what you do, and what your experience is like playing Vast Grimm.
Sure. My name is Parrish. I'm the designer of Altera: Age of Exploration. It's a rules light RPG, but on the flip side, it's positive, noble, bright, optimistic. And one thing that it has in common with this one is you might is that it has low stakes, because in this one, if your character dies, you're like, well, I wasn't that attached to him anyway. But in Altera, since the party doesn't die and combats aren't lethal, you can have a combat go fail and the result sets back the story rather than kills off the whole party. So I love lightweight games like this. Oh, you can, if you want a copy of my game, you can get it for free, print and play at explorealtera.com or at explorealtera on any social media. I really enjoyed this. I expected when I first heard about your system, I fully expected that it was going to be amazing, because it just felt like your pitch just felt like a very natural fit for Mork Borg, and you completely delivered. But I was most surprised and also impressed how close you kept to the thematic elements of Mork Borg. Like obviously the miseries, and like I heard hints at him and her, and like you didn't just keep the general theme, like you translated every specific component, and that was impressive to me, and really satisfying, because I love the original, and I want to play it sci-fi now. It also totally just made sense to me, like, oh yeah, okay, the whole universe is ending. That makes sense. It almost made more sense than Mork Borg, which you have to take a like leap of fantasy faith to, and this one felt very natural. One thing that felt really clear was the idea of having 3 hit points felt very natural, because I felt like 100% like, oh yeah, literally any of these things could kill me in 1 hit. And there was never any suspension of disbelief, where when you have 2 hit points in Mork Borg, you're like, is that thing biting me really going to kill me? Oh, well, I guess like life is brutal here. But here I'm just like, yeah, if I get ripped by that, I'm dead. So,
yep.
So having 3 hit points in a futuristic setting with beam weapons and like carapace covered shredding monsters, just I was completely immersed and submerged in the dark and horror of the world. So fantastic work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We talked about it a little bit at the break. I was originally blown away, because when you want to propose a system, I feel like, because I don't know that anybody else has said, hey, we're going to take the Mork Borg system. Most other third-party Mork Borg content has been like, hey, here's an adventure, or here's some other, like, here's some tables, or here's some monsters, or here's some other, like class concepts. The concept of taking it and picking it up and saying, we are going to move it over into being a completely new setting with new lore, with new space, and the visual flair of Mork Borg and the aesthetic of Mork Borg is so strong that the concept of rewriting any of that stuff is challenging and would be a task. But then saying, okay, how do you take that and how do you make it as beautiful as I wish like I said, I have some previews here that I wish I could show everybody. I'll just tell you, they are really, really absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Brian will be back on for an interview in a couple weeks mid-campaign, so hopefully maybe at that point in time we can share a couple of pages with people, a couple just select ones to show everybody some of the layout, how well y'all have done taking the visual aesthetic of Mork Borg, not copying it in any way, shape, or form, but translating it into this environment also too, bringing in that same in-depth feel. I will say no page currently is used to just say like a femur bone does a D4 of damage. I feel like that is one Mork Borg thing that you need to bring in. It's one page wasted on, or not wasted, but used to relay one very simple fact. But other than that, the way you've packed it all together, and one of the other things having looked in it, it is front inside cover to back inside cover gameable material, which I'm a huge fan of. Like, I think if you're going to have inside covers, print something on them, put something on, give me something on that page. You're getting charged for it. You might as well give us something on it. But it is beautiful from beginning to end. And I had a blast. And so it is great, like Paris was talking about, to be able to see some of those roots, but have it feel like they're in a very different reality. And yeah, getting like barely sliced by a sword and dying feels weird. Getting obliterated by a giant monster, blown up by a landmine, or shot through by a shotgun, that feels a lot better. I know when I was reading it, I think one of my original kind of like, it's very evident reading it and talking to you that like Firefly and some other hard sci-fi things are influences in the writing style. I was curious how much of that would feel that way during play. But it does in all the good ways, and it doesn't in any of the ways that would be tropey or obnoxious. And it was really kind of not like a major concern, but something I was paying attention to because I was curious. It feels very much like Alien or another space horror movie, and not the same kind of soft hard sci-fi, if that makes any kind of sense, of a Firefly, where you have more of a heroic feeling that everything's got to work out in the end, right?
There's a huge chance of dying. I tend to run games a little bit lighter and try not to kill off the players as much. I kind of hold back some of the nastiness and some of the, like, I could have put 2 of those monsters in when you first came in, but especially on a live game like this, I want you to get to play through the entire 3 hours, or 2 hours, or however.
You start killing people left and right at the end.
Right.
You're dead. I think on the first time Paris and I played Mork Borg together, the 2 of us were like laying dying with the rest of the party slewing around us, arguing with each other, like, because we figured one of us could make it out of this, but not both of us before we faded to black. But no, yeah, absolutely. I loved the different. I'm an item junkie, and so like just having a violent roid rat on my inventory, like a rat I can pull out and like toss out, so much fun. Even though he was not super helpful the entire time. I had asked us about this. I think I'm going to try during your campaign to work out a Mork Borg and Vast Grimm, 2 versions of the same type of character. It'll be beard based. Because that's who I am. But some sort of weird mangy beard character will probably make an appearance at some point in the next month. Tell us a little bit about some of the plans. Like you said, y'all are launching on GameFound. Because I'm a nerd.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the choice to launch on GameFound as opposed to Kickstarter, which may have been just a conversation. It may have been a lot of things, but tell us a little bit about that choice, because it is a choice at the end of the day.
It is. So, Infinite Black has had tons of success on Kickstarter. They've had lots of backers there. And as we're starting to grow, especially like I'm hoping to fill out a big role within the company as things grow, we need to have multiple ways to build audiences and to get products out to people. And because we came across GameFound and we saw that it was a growing community, we saw that how good they're doing for board gamers, we thought, we know it's in beta. Why not reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to take us on as a beta project for crowdfunding? Vast Grimm, the risk of not doing well on a platform we're not familiar with outweighs. I mean, we think it's going to be successful no matter what. It might do great. It might could have done better on Kickstarter maybe, but we need to grow our audience, and we need to support other people. One thing that we love about GameFound is it's started by board gamers.
Right.
I mean, there are people. Why wouldn't we want to invest our time and energy into our people? You know, especially like Kickstarter. I love Kickstarter. A lot of the things that I make would not be around without them. I wouldn't have been able to do as many conventions and things like that. But I feel with such a big machine, I'm just a tiny little cog personally. Not Infinite Black, but like, because I've run a bunch of my own personal Kickstarters. I'd much rather, I want to try and see how things are with somebody that's in our space.
Yeah. No, it's been really exciting. I've been in touch with them. We're going to have some more conversations. And also, like, I'm curious to see how some of the numbers trend. I will say this, you know, a project like this popping up on Kickstarter, you would probably have a good following. But right now, you're sitting at a little over 2,500 followers, which is a huge number for, you know, rules light indie RPG. You've got the Elder Dice piece going in there. We know Dice Kickstarters do well. People are obviously playing games with those, but the Dice Kickstarters tend to do well. The way you've married those two things in, brought in some of the experience of Infinite Black. Also, if you go follow it at the link that we've got, ttrpg.link /vastgrimmgf, it'll take you right there. If you're following it in advance, you get a free D20 with your pledge also too, which I just think is great. To have the ability to do some of those incentives. Watching the way y'all are marketing this has been really exciting for me. Like I said, I can't wait to dive into maybe some more of the behind the scenes when you come back on in a couple of weeks. But we'll also have a full review that we're going to be dropping in a couple of weeks of this. But did anybody else, before we pop off, or any of y'all watching, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat now. But anybody else have any questions about the system? Or Brian, is there something specific that you're just really excited about that maybe people haven't caught on to yet, or just something you just keep on hoping like people are going to take notice of about the system that you haven't had a chance to share yet?
I think tonight's just a great experience of it, and seeing how easily games can come together and how quickly an adventure bits and pieces can be thrown together and you can have a great time. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have to spend a lot of time making really elaborate maps or things like that. I love maps, and I love those, especially like using certain virtual tabletop, but we can have theater of the mind and have a really wonderful experience with very little prep time coming into it. I mean, that's last time I ran the game for Infinite Black for playtesting. I had the people at the table roll the rolls that were going to be the random things that were in the adventure, and just made it up as we went. And it's just, you know, it's for me, not getting to play the characters on the other side, it makes me think on my feet, and I love being able to make those quick decisions like you all are having to do.
Yeah. I think that is actually my one last question, where I'll give people a chance to type things in if they want to. What can we expect, or can we expect anything from ships in the game itself?
So there are, starting out as a Legion, there's an optional table to roll a D6 for a random starting ship. There are 2 additional ships that you can try and sell enough things on the black market or barter enough things to be able to trade for one of those better vessels. We don't currently have in this book like ship warfare and things like that. We have basic explanation of how travel works, but I wanted to leave that out because I thought that was a bigger thing to conquer, and I wanted to. And there's a lot of people. That's not something my brain does really well. And there's a lot of people that do it really well. And those people are very particular about how that works and how mine would be broken. So,
love it.
You know, we'll cross that bridge, I think, eventually. Like I already have 3 more books in my head of what expansions could be if people like it. So, and that's one of the pieces, but that needs bigger brains than mine.
And you said on an interview the other day, you haven't figured it out yet, but if somebody out there really loves ships and really loves Vast Grimm, right, and they want to write up their own ship stuff and put it out there for people to be able to use, they can, right? Like, yeah, that's not going to be like, it's not locked down. It's not like no one can do this. It's right, open to the community also.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Last Eclectic Night said, would you provide more details about the symbiote-like worms and magic elements in the world?
Sure. So the magic elements, it's weird, it's mystical. One of the things that I really love about Mork Borg that I brought into this is how there's little nuggets that are so open-ended that whoever runs the game can take it in whatever direction they want it to be in. So just like in that, the magic here are these little trinkets that are kind of like little jump drives almost from years past, from sometime before they were released from the mausoleum. And those little jump drives are kind of like, you see like Iron Man using like a little thing, and all of a sudden it pops up this kind of holograph thing, and boom, there's the magic. So it's vague on purpose so that you can bend it to what works for your table the best. As far as the symbiotic worm, the worms play a huge role in this. The idea that any creature, even if they're not one of the Grimm, could be carrying worms is very big. So it's like you could be fighting a creature, they don't have their eyes turned magenta, they don't have the veins going all through their faces and stuff, but they're carrying it, and you got in close combat, you rolled a 1, now you're infected. And so, and each of the 6 different worms affect the body differently. There's a brain worm, a spine worm, a gut worm, a heart worm. So all these things have really, to me, fun, like we wrote them in a really funny, and to me, I love reading the parasitic pains. There's also a chance that the worm will like really like your body and do things to try and preserve your body. And those are parasitic pleasures. So there's a chance that on this day you roll that, and instead you're going and they're going to like, this one's going to kind of work as like a skeleton, like toughening up your skin so that it's harder to be hit by things that day. So there's a lot of ways to play with being infected by the worm and still making it. And there's a little hint of something that is to come, which are people that have been infected by all 6 and managed to survive. And that's something that I have like little notes of. There's a list of names of these NPCs that are kind of forming, and the lore and the myths about these creatures, these people.
Paris, go ahead.
Paris? You're muted.
Quick comment is that same as when we played Mork Borg, Tony, I expected a really dark experience and ended up with a 30% dark, 70% funny experience. And once again, I foolishly walked into this expecting a dark experience, and I think this was like 80% funny and 20%. And I expect, Brian, that the answer is you can take it whichever direction your table feels.
Yep.
Okay, but my real question is, tell us more about the mask you made, how, like, your process in making that, and also that creature. Like, I would like to know more about that alien thing, and because obviously there's some more detail than we got in game.
Really, there's not. So we had already decided all the creatures that were going to be in the book. They had either been sculpted or illustrated. And then we decided that as part of the big giveaway, I want to sculpt something because I sculpt things, and I want to give away a sculpture to somebody that digs what we make. So the sculpture itself, I started out with big styrofoam that I cut down and carved and pieced together. And then you can watch a speed sculpt of that. If you go to the link that's the cantrip/grog and then follow that down at the bottom, there's a link to the speed sculpt video. But I sculpted with it's a paper clay on top of it because I used to use some other stuff that I'm allergic to. So, but anyway, that I did ping pong balls for the eyes. I did some kit bashing on the side using bits and pieces from like Gundam models. I used chopsticks to jam down into the styrofoam to give structure to the teeth. I painted all with miniature paints that people use for playing RPGs. And so it's on a wood base, so it's solid. It's like meant to be like a wall mounted, like weird taxidermy head sort of thing. A lot of my previous creatures would have like real taxidermy style, like I'd design and hand cut out wood plaques for them. But with the sci-fi stuff, it just doesn't seem to fit. I'm just hanging the monsters on the walls.
But it was definitely going to try to kill us, right?
I don't know. So like it accidentally got teleported onto that ship. It didn't know why it was there. And And so there aren't alien races that are like playable races in the core Vast Grimm book. This is something that'll probably be in the next book or in a supplement or something that we put out as a PDF for free or something. So there's lots of hints at other galaxies and other cultures out there, but they haven't made it here yet. Let's see if your Legion will make it long enough to see them come in and see if they're here to help or hurt you guys.
Yeah, Brandon, go ahead.
I gotta ask what the tribute was that we found.
Oh yes, that was a shoot. I wrote it down. Hang on, just one second. That was a Grimm. That was called the Grimm Groupie. When you activate it, it calls a D4 Grimm within a certain area of space to come to where you are.
Well, that didn't happen.
It's not a helpful spell for us.
No.
Michael, go ahead.
All right. I've got I guess it's both a question and a kind of prediction here. So this space called, the Bitter Void, it just fascinates me. Like I'm very big on like story and setting and stuff like that. And clearly there's like a civilized and occupied space. Then there's this Bitter Void. In my head, I'm curious, is the Bitter Void the edge of what we're looking at, or are we surrounded like kind of almost like a ring? So, rather than it being us reaching the expanse of where we're at, we're actually trapped, I suppose, in a way.
You could definitely spin it that way, but it's not currently set up to be like that. It's definitely an area. It's put your thrusters in reverse and steer your rust bucket as far away from this death trap as you can. The Bitter Void is anything but empty, like its name may imply. Instead, it's littered with the Grimm, a way station for those infected awaiting their next conquest. And then there's another paragraph or two about it, but yeah. Most of the Grimm have gone in and erased its location from most star maps that you can pull up on the network. So if you don't actually know where it is, there's a strong chance that you might actually wind up there accidentally.
Because you've got a couple locations like Rings Eternal, the Helmuth. We started out on Murato's Cryosphere, the waste barges of Kalar, where I spent some time eating feces. It's fine. You've got locations in there. They've all got this phenomenal lore, and y'all are also building, though it is currently not finished, like a star map of the space that you can do. But it's just kind of the points on the map, and it's an absolutely incredibly gorgeous interior so far, and it's still in process. So I can't wait to see the final version. It's going to look absolutely phenomenal. So
we touch on 8 locations in the book so that you can roll a D8 if you choose to. The Gate of Infinite Stars that I talked about. Each campaign, you can roll the D8 to see where you believe that gate to be being built. So that, okay, if your goal is to try to get out of this universe and try and make it to a multiverse or a different place, okay, you know that this is being built here. Let's see if I can try and figure out where these missing pieces are to help them build it so I can get out.
I really am enthralled by the adventure that gets written from both directions of your Vast Grimm party getting sucked into Mork Borg and your Galgenbeck Mork Borg crew getting sucked into Vast Grimm, and vice versa through these dark portals. And so, but somebody will have to play to see how that ends up working out. It's been an absolute blast having you on, Brian. Thank you so much. Tell us everybody again one more time when the Kickstarter works, when the Game Found project. There's no we got to come up with like some lingo.
When the crowdfunding project.
When the crowdfunding project goes live.
Yep, it's going live on July 13th. On Game Found, you can go to Game Found now. We are on the second row down on their homepage. Click on the link. Click on the follow, because we want as many people. If you're into RPGs, even if you're not going to back it, go follow it. Go show your support for RPGs on Game Found so we can get more people funding there. Yeah. We're the first ones there. We want to make a good impression and make them want to have RPGs on their space, not just for the pledge manager side, but for crowdfunding.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people use it for their pledge fund, their pledge manager. It's been an absolute best. But again, it was one of the things, like, I was already interested in the game, but when I saw y'all were the first RPG going up on Gamefront, I was like, I want to support this. How do I do this? Because diversifying that space, like, we'll talk about itch funding on the channel. We talk about what makes Kickstarters better. We're not like, hey, Kickstarter is horrible. We just think that there needs to be more options out there, just like Brian was talking about earlier, for people. So this is a great way to do it. As always, backing a project, even like at $1, like even if you're not going to go in at a hole, is absolutely helpful to the creator. It helps further the project. It helps other people discover the project. If you can't even share $1, just sharing the project online, hitting follow, doing some of the things that helps boost awareness of it is huge. I do know for a fact that Ryan and the team at GameFound absolutely want to make it a great space for specifically indie RPG creators. And so we're really thankful to Brian, Infinite Black, and the whole crew for being the first ones on there, for making this a more accessible space for everybody, and for kind of leading the way in that. So please support this project so that people can see that there are numerous options out there also too. If you want to help, by the way, support our channel, one of the best ways that you can do that is by becoming a content champion. If you're watching on Twitch right now, there's links right below, or if you're watching somewhere else, you can use the link on the screen, kofi.com/plus1exp. We want to support first-time, diverse, and small creators, most of whom don't have a marketing budget. We don't think people should have to pay to have their games promoted, and we like to be able to support them with professional quality equipment. We have a lot of actual plays coming up. We are finishing our Down We Go actual play series. It's an OSR minimalist system, so if you like rules light stuff, check it out. We've been doing it every week, every Wednesday of June. We had to cancel one, so we rescheduled it for the 7th, so that is happening as our last one next week. Come on back and enjoy that with us. We'll be enjoying that adventure, the closing of our mega dungeon dive all together next week. We've also got a special project coming up next week I haven't had the chance to talk about yet, but last year there was a project around this time called Dissident Whispers that was really seeking to address some of the inequality that lots of people experience in our culture, and a lot of the things that were happening in the world at that point in time. And it was a way for RPG creators to come together to create content for games like Mothership, Mork Borg, Troika, system agnostic material, adventures, concepts, other stuff like that by a huge crew of international diverse creators. And we put it all together and we raised money for the National Bell Fund. When I say I wasn't actually a part of it at all, except for supporting it. But they asked if I would host kind of a retrospective a year later to talk about the impact it had and talk about how those things are still a reality. So starting the 7th, going through that following Saturday, we're going to be having almost daily content where we'll be playing from Dissident Whispers. We'll have creators from Dissident Whispers on talking about their experience, why they contributed to the project, why the stories that they created were personal for them, and just having a good time together. So if you want to help support better diversity in our community, which has been a conversation as of late in some very interesting ways, come on back. Go ahead and hit follow anywhere that you're watching this and get notified whenever we go live. But again, thanks everybody for coming on. Would love to have any of you back on any time to play or to run games. But until next time, I don't have a good way to close a stream, so we're just going to wave at the camera till we go off air. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.